Hello and welcome to Franchise Me. I am Ryan.
And I'm Andrew.
And this is the show where two friends go on a journey to find the ultimate movie franchise. Each week we'll talk about a film or films in a series, breaking them down and seeing if they are truly worthy of being in a franchise. As we finish different series, we will compare and rank them among each other in order to find out which one is truly the best. This week we push the pedal to the metal as we break down the fifth entry in the Fast and Furious franchise, Fast 5.
Oh man, this is a treat for us because this is the one we've been waiting for.
When we started this and we started doing the Fast and Furious movies,
yes,
we both said to each other, I just kind of want to go to 5.
We kind of just want to go to 5. We're like, because we've seen this in theaters. You and I saw this in theaters together when it came out. And we have such fond memories of that time. And when we started this series, we thought to ourselves, okay, this is going to be interesting because we haven't seen the first 4, but we know 5 is good. And we really want to get there because that's the one we want to watch.
In many ways, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could just kind of start here. If you really want to experience the film, and this was our first time experiencing the film with this backstory.
Right.
We have now met all these characters. We've seen where they've gone through, where they've come from.
Right.
And now we're seeing them come together.
Yes.
And I think that makes it even better.
Yes.
But if you really wanted to, we want to watch a dumb action movie, kind of a good option for that.
This is really, you really could just start the Fast saga as it's known right with this one, which is kind of crazy to think about because there's literally 4 previous movies to this. And if you really just wanted to start, you could just not watch any of them and then go right to 5 and it's all good.
Well, you get enough information in this movie of kind of what happened. I mean,
what happened, who the characters are, all of that.
Yeah, because it starts right where the 4th one left off. So you're
Yes.
getting the ending of the 4th one. You don't need to see the 4th one. And through the news reports in the opening of the movie, you learn who these people are, what's going on, and where they come from, and through their interactions. And they basically, when they're reintroducing the characters, they say, like, here's this person.
Yep.
We did this together. Here's this person. We did this together.
Yes.
So you kind of, and again, when we saw this, that was our experience. I wasn't confused in the theaters because I was like, okay, they must know each other.
We were not confused. We just sat down and we were like, okay, let's see what happens. And we loved it. This is so much fun. I mean, before we even talk about this movie, do you want to just like touch on our theater experience? Like, because I know for both of us, it's probably one of our favorite theater experiences we've ever had.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think it would just be interesting to talk about because with the pandemic going on, a lot of people aren't really in theaters anymore. And I think, maybe just talking about will make people want to go back to a theater or something because we had such a great time with it.
Absolutely. Basically, this movie was released in America on April 29, 2011. Mm-hmm. So, I believe that day.
Yes.
I believe it was opening night.
Yes, it was.
We went to the movie theaters.
Uh-huh.
We had plans to see something else.
Yes.
I believe it was Arthur starring Russell Brand.
Russell Brand was very big at that time.
Well, mostly we just wanted to go out.
Yes.
It was me, you, and another one of our friends.
Yes.
Hey, let's go see this movie. It's a comedy. We get in there. Hey, they're not showing it anymore. It's been in theaters too long. It's gone.
Right.
We need to figure out something else to watch. There's a giant... I just remember this giant sign of The Rock.
Yes.
This giant cutout of The Rock.
Yes.
And we're like, or poster of The Rock. We're like, I guess we can go see this.
Yeah, we're like, oh, Fast 5. This looks interesting. There's The Rock. We gotta go.
And I was really big in wrestling at the time, or I had
Yes.
just gotten back into wrestling at the time. And I'm like, let me check this out.
Right.
And we walked in there, and it was just a bunch of people. It was kind of be like a sold-out theater.
It was a sold-out theater. I mean, it was... Like, we sat down, and I remember looking back where there was all of these people.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is a really... That was the first thing for me where I went, this is a really popular franchise.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Like I said, like, my experience with this franchise before is I had technically seen Tokyo Drift in high school in a math class.
The place to see Tokyo Drift.
And that's really my experience. And I remember a couple people talking about them. So I knew like people liked them, but I thought they were pretty like niche, like audience.
Right.
Kind of like a fan base.
Yeah.
And apparently no, like it's just a whole bunch of people.
It is a whole bunch of people. I mean, I was not expecting it. But we get into this movie. We're sitting there.
And these people are thrilled to be there.
They are thrilled. Like, I mean, it's... Like, to even set the scene, it was a raucous crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, raucous crowd.
I remember just waiting for the movie to start, and they're already cheering, and they're
cheering. I couldn't... Like, that was the first time I experienced cheering in a movie theater. And I had seen the prequel Star Wars movies. Mm-hmm. There was no cheering when I went to those movies. Fast Five is the first movie that I went to where people were clapping their hands, they were cheering, they were going, yeah! They were so pumped.
Multiple people, were yelling out. Because sometimes in the theaters you get like one person who is kind of vocal or whatever, but it just the environment that night was just, you can do whatever you want here.
It was electric, man.
And a lot of times people do find that annoying in the movie theaters, and I probably would too for certain movies. But this is a type of movie that is perfect for that.
This is not that type of. Yeah, this is the movie to do it.
Yeah, it's not dialogue driven, so if people are cheering, you're not really going to miss anything, right? It's almost like a stunt show.
Yes,
like you want to see the action sequences, you want to see the good looking girls, even the good looking guys.
Yeah, even the good looking guys. You want to see things blow up.
You want to see the fight sequences. Yeah. You want to hear the one liners. I mean, and it was every little thing. I mean, they were cheering, and they were every car race, everything was just an event for everybody there.
Yes.
And I remember, even though again we had, us and the person we were with really didn't have experience, with this franchise, but we were just sucked in.
We were sucked in. I mean, it was so much fun. Like, this is why this movie stands out to me so much, and why we wanted to get to it so badly, because we had such a great experience in the movie theater. I hadn't seen this since we saw it in the movie theater, because it was so special to me. I was like, this was so much fun.
You almost don't want to ruin it.
You don't want to ruin it because it was so much fun. And I was like, I cannot wait to watch this movie kind of on my own after all these years now. I mean, it literally a decade later, and I'm rewatching this movie for the first time. And I just, man, that was such a fun experience. And I think I just want to point out the one moment, because we're going to reference it later. But the one moment that really stood out to me, there is a scene in this movie where it is Han and Giselle, and they're at a beach. They need to get a fingerprint off of the bad guy.
Yep.
And I'll just say this as nicely as I can. Giselle, who is played by Gal Gadot, has this moment where she has to drop her robe, and she is in a bathing suit.
Yep.
And the camera pans down to her lower region, we'll say.
You see the whole body shot.
Her back.
They're showing off everything.
They're showing off everything. The camera pans to her back and pans down to the lower region and focuses in on that lower half a little bit. And when it pans down, there was, I imagine, a young man in the audience.
It was a gentleman in the audience.
There was a gentleman in the audience, and he yells out, "Daddy!" And it was so fun.
It just shows that the fun that these people are having and the experience they're having. And yes, maybe that story, in 2021 doesn't, hold up as well. Maybe it's a little bit more, and not necessarily offensive, because they know, and Justin Lin and Gal Gadot, they know what they're doing, right? But in a way, yes, is it a little too much? That we've talked about a little bit of the use of women,
sure,
in this franchise,
absolutely,
and especially when it comes to the second one, we kind of put down the movie for using terms like hoasis and kind of really sexualizing women, especially because in that movie they really didn't. No offense to Eva Mendes or anybody else in that movie, they really didn't have extremely strong female presence,
absolutely,
character-wise in the movies. And I think that really plays badly to kind of use those terms and stuff like that while not representing the other side of that. Where here, yes, she is, or, they are focusing on her body, but she's using it to one-up, not only Han, but the criminal and everybody. She's using what she has.
Yes.
In a way, it is, it might not age gracefully, but in a way, it is almost kind of oddly empowering.
Yeah.
She is kind of, she knows how to manipulate these people, and she knows how to work around it, and that's kind of what one of her major skills is.
Right. I feel like that's a really important word you just threw out too, empowering. I feel like that's that's a really important word to use here, because you're right. It can be viewed as maybe not aging well, as maybe a little over-sexualized for sure. Mm-hmm. But I really think in the context of the film, it works, where it's kind of she is using her power to get this thing, to pull off this job.
Yes.
Because, spoiler alert, they're going to rob this guy blind.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a necessary thing to...
It's something that none of the other people on the team can do.
It's
right?
Not, yes.
Han can't do this.
As much as we all want to see Han drop his robe and just have, the Speedo. We're big fans of Han here, and I think that would be, for you and I, that's the dream.
Absolutely,
but we're not going to get that. So we have to deal with Gal Gadot, and that's it is what it is.
It is her kind of weaponizing this, and she's not she's not going up to him and she's not doing a strip tease. She's
Right.
not grinding on him.
Oh, and
she
I guess
casually goes up to him, sits down, and just has a conversation. But they need the handprint, and
Right.
she gets the handprint.
She gets the handprint. And it's funny, I feel like the previous ones would have handled that differently.
We kind of touched on this with the second one. There was literally a shot in Too Fast, Too Furious of a woman getting out of a pool. And it is essentially, I mean, it is, I basically consider it nudity.
Yeah.
Like, she is technically wearing a bathing suit, but you can't see the bathing suit. You know, really gratuitous. And, like, I was telling people that we were watching these movies, and, you know, they were asking if I was recommending them. And I said, you know, if you do want to go into this, just know that, you know, there are some kind of dated uses of women and shots of women, you know, especially in the earlier movies.
Absolutely.
And to kind of just know that going in and try not to let that define the franchise for you.
Right.
So, but yeah, just that environment and those people. And like I said, this isn't something that when I'm going into, you know, a really important movie or something, you know, kind of dramatic or whatever, I don't want an audience that's going to be screaming, hooting and hollering.
Right.
But this is almost like being at a sporting event.
Yes.
You know,
It's just like it.
and it's just fun, and you know, you kind of know what you're getting into, or we do now.
Now we do. Yeah, now we're aware.
You know, when you go to one of these movies and kind of, you know, that experience, because these people want to see the ridiculousness. They want to see the racing, and they want to see the action,
Yes.
and they want to see, you know, the comedy and everything like that. And they just want to see these people interact. And it just was a really great environment to watch this film in. And this film, like you mentioned, holds a very special place in my heart because of that.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, so I just thought it'd be fun to talk about the theater experience right off the top. Just so people, I don't know, you know, I just feel like, you know, not a lot of people are going to theaters as much now. And I just wanted to, you know, put it out there and remind people of what's so special about it. But
in this time of like the drought of movie theaters, it is nice to kind of reminisce what that was like. I know in the really big height of COVID and everything, people were sharing like the clips from like the Avengers Endgame, you know, theater experiences and everything like that. And it's just really nice to see that.
It's nice to see it.
So
cool.
We can get into the movie now. Like I said, a release date, released in America on April 29th, 2011. Directed by Justin Lin once again. This is his third entry into this film series. Written by Chris Morgan. Again, his third entry into this film series.
These guys like working together.
They seem to be, I know, like I did last week and like I'll do this week, I did watch this movie with commentary on the DVD, and Justin Lin did mention that on this one, more than the other two, he did kind of work with Chris. He kind of got him, with Chris Morgan, he kind of got him, you know, with him while they went over a lot of stuff, and I think even when they were filming and stuff, versus before it was kind of like, here's the script, let me film it, okay, cool.
Right. So they actually got together and discussed the film.
I'm sure that they interacted about everything before, but like more so than ever before, I think he was kind of saying.
Nice.
And
cool.
As ridiculous as it may sound, because this is such a ridiculous, fun movie, I really kind of give credit to Chris Morgan more than any of his other work on the series, because he finally is understanding what this series is about.
Yeah.
I think he did a good job with the other two movies and, you know, the story, but it's a little bit boring, a little bit more dramatic, a little bit whatever. He's really kind of like, hey, this isn't about the drama of it, or we don't need to slow the movie down to have these dramatic scenes. We can have dramatic scenes and even emotional scenes while having these really big, super high moments of incredible action and set pieces and stuff.
I'm wondering if it's because he was let off his rein a little bit. Like, I'm wondering if, you know, even before Justin really started meeting up with him, I'm curious if the studio had more of an input on his script. So maybe he was just turning in these decent scripts, not great scripts, where, you know, I think we're agreed the writing on those previous two movies weren't great. So they were decent scripts, but they weren't great. Where this one, it really just feels like he's just let off the leash. Again, the dialogue is much more bearable in this movie. Like, there's funny one-liners, there's good one-liners, there's big action sequences. I mean, he's off the leash, and it works. It really, really works this time.
It is absolutely the best written movie in this entire franchise
So
far.
I agree.
Like you said, even the dialogue in their interactions between the people, the characters, work so much better. And we can talk about that a little bit more as we go into our cast.
Yes.
So this movie stars Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto, Paul Walker as Brian O'Connor, Jordana Brewster as Mia Toretto, and we're bringing back the crew, the supporting cast from the previous four movies. We get Tyrese Gibson is back as Roman Pierce.
Yeah.
Chris Ludacris Bridges as Tej Parker.
Yeah.
We get Matt Schultz as Vince back from the first
Yeah.
movie. Sung Kong as Han Lu.
Yeah.
We get an introduction of Dwayne The Rock Johnson
Yes.
as Luke Hobbs. Gal Gadot comes back as Giselle Yashar. Joaquim de Almeida as Hernan Reyes.
Yeah.
Elsa Pataki as Elena Neves.
Yeah.
And featuring Tego Calderon and Don Omar back as Leo and Santos.
Oh man, they're so good.
And even a cameo from Eva Mendes returning as Monica Fuentes.
Yeah.
What do we think of this returning cast?
God, man. This is the movie we wanted. I keep saying it. It's the movie we wanted. This is what we wanted to get to. We wanted the casts merged. We wanted everybody back. We wanted to see everybody interacting with each other, and we get that. And man, do they interact with each other well. I mean, this movie is just like, everyone gels so well together. Like, when you're seeing them planning this heist together, you're just... It's so, like, reminiscent to me of, like, Ocean's 11, where you have this insane cast, and they're all just, you know, they're just planning things, and you can tell that they like being around each other. Like, that's the other thing. Like, it doesn't seem like anybody in the cast dislikes each other, really. Like, you can kind of tell they're just really enjoying shooting this movie, and it's so much fun, and the dialogue is fun. They get great character moments, too. Like, it feels like everybody gets a really good moment, and you know who these people are, which speaks to your point earlier of you saying, oh, you don't even have to watch the previous ones. You can learn everything about these characters through this movie.
Yeah.
And it just works. I mean, everyone's so good. It's so much fun. I just love... I loved it so much. I was just like, the moment... And it's funny because they're not really in the movie until like 40 minutes in, 45 minutes in, when, great line, they do the classic, like, we need a team. And you go, yeah, you do! Yeah, you need a team! Go get them!
And they're breaking down, who do we need? We need a chameleon. And you're like, yeah!
You're like, yeah, you need a chameleon.
Han walks in, yeah, you do!
Yeah, you need that chameleon. Get another one.
We need a tech guy. We need a muscle guy.
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah!
and each one, they walk in, and you're just going, oh my god, this is so much fun. It's such a great montage of just like introducing what each role is going to be for these guys. And they, oh man, and it's the perfect meshing of all of these movies together. It's finally bringing together these 4 previous films where we're like, people are like, how are these even connected? Fast 5 is how they're connected. Yep. This is where they connect, and this is where they go all out and they make it so much fun.
Yeah. These characters are back, and I think every single character that's in this movie is better than they previously were. Oh. They're written better than they previously were. And the actors, every single performance in this movie is nailing the characters. And really, especially these side characters, the Romans and the Tejas and the Hans and the Giselles, they don't have really that much to do if you really look at it. Like you mentioned, they come in late into the movie, but they're really using this time that they have and really standing out with it.
Yes.
And just the little sequences and the interactions between them.
Yeah.
And just really, I think, strong and charismatic performances from everybody.
Yes.
Every single person in this movie is better than they were previously.
I completely agree.
and just, I mean, from the main cast down, it's such an electric cast. Like you said, you're fist pumping in the air when they're coming back. It's just so much fun.
It's so much fun. Previously, we were talking about how all these previous movies were going, oh, this is a Brian movie. This is this is a Dom movie, a Vin Diesel movie. It's these types of movies. This is the first one where maybe, again, for like the first 40 minutes, it is a Dom and Brian movie. But then once everybody comes in, the focus shifts from those two, and it focuses on the team.
It's a crew movie.
It's a crew movie.
Yeah.
It moves to a crew movie almost seamlessly, and you're like, oh my god, this isn't just Dom and Brian anymore.
Yeah.
This is a crew movie, and everybody has a role to play, and you don't feel like you're getting more of one character than the other. You just feel like you're seeing everybody do what they're supposed to do. They're planning a heist. They're executing the heist. It's just, you're like, this is absolutely wild.
Yeah. It's almost selfless of the actors because they're letting each other shine. They're setting each other up. Like, you can really feel the friendship, like from what I understand, a lot of these people, like we mentioned before, Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, really good friends in real life.
Yep.
Tyrese Gibson and Paul Walker, really good friends in real life.
Yes.
You really believe and you feel that friendship between these actors.
Yes.
Every single person here.
Yes.
And the chemistry between them, and it feels like, okay, this is Tyrese's moment to shine, so I'm going to sit back and set him up, and he really nails it out of the park. Or this is Ludacris's moment, and we're coming back and we're setting it up. Every single person, the jokes work. Everybody is interacting so well. Everybody, this movie feels like, I feel like the positivity coming off of my screen, because everybody's working together to kind of help each other out. And I cannot emphasize enough. We've been talking about performances, and we say like O'Brien or Paul Walker in the first movie was a little weaker, not as confident, or Vin Diesel in the fourth movie, a little too serious.
Yeah.
Every single person, all those problems are solved. Every single person has upped their game. They know what they're doing. Every single thing, almost every scene has a standout performance from everybody. It's a ridiculous situation. There's ridiculous stuff happening, but the characters do kind of feel real. And there are some emotional moments in this movie still.
There are real emotional moments still. I just want to shift quick too. I mean, we're talking so much about the crew. Let's talk about the new entrant into this franchise, who is, I wouldn't say the villain.
He's an antagonist.
He's an antagonist. But he turns into kind of a member of the crew
or
towards
an ally,
the end, or an ally of the crew. This is the first movie featuring Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. He joins the franchise in Fast 5. Man, is he good in this film? And he gets the only F-bomb.
Yes,
he gets the only F-bomb, and man, does he kill it!
Yep.
I was like, wow, he really, really delivers that line.
Even in our own personal lives, we've talked about like the use of an F-bomb in a PG-13 movie, right? And how, if you use it right, it's perfect. Sometimes, it's a little weaker. You don't want to just throw it out, right? Yes. You don't want somebody to just say, well, F you, or whatever, right?
Right.
That's kind of lame,
it's
right?
Weak. Yeah, it's weak.
There are ways to kind of creatively use it, really create a kind of a great moment with the use of that. And he talks about in the commentary that he kind of feels a lot of the same way about that. He wants to make sure it's a powerful moment, a great moment. And the way The Rock uses it, get the F out of my way, is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's really, really well done.
It sets up his character.
Yeah.
It absolutely sets up his character. And by the time that introduction is done, I think it's like 20 minutes into the movie he comes in, right? That's got to be, a 3-minute scene at most?
It's literally a 3-minute scene of him. Yeah.
And by the time it's done, you know who he is, you know how he is, you know how he functions. Fantastic. You know he is here to hunt these guys down, and you know that he is probably the best at what he does. There's no doubt that this guy is the best at what he does. Hobbs is the best. There's nobody else that's going to do this right. It's him. And that scene sets it up so well, because you're right. It's 3 minutes. It's literally a 3-minute scene, and by the end of the 3 minutes, you're gripping your seat going, oh my God, I can't wait for him to clash with these guys. He's really he's dead set on getting these guys. He is so intimidating.
Yes.
You're almost scared of him, but he's so charismatic, because The Rock is so charismatic.
Yes.
Do you want to see more of him? He has so many quick little snips, you don't even notice. When the guy's, I got good news and bad news. I like my dessert first. And then he gives it and he goes, all right, now give me the veggies. I love, that's hilarious.
He's so fun. It's a fun character. You don't really think of I think now we think of The Rock as kind of this really, he can play really fun characters. Mm-hmm. This is the first time where I think we really see him play a fun, interesting character.
Well, that's what he does. We both of us kind of, were really familiar with him when he was wrestling in the 90s and early 2000s and stuff. And we saw that. If you watched wrestling back then, or if you watch the clips now, you really saw that in his character. He knew how to work an audience, and he knew how to build those moments.
He's the most electrifying man in sports entertainment.
You kind of lose that with some of, he's just going into straight comedy, and he's doing jokes for the sake of doing jokes, and he's not as, not putting down his other movies. He's not as charismatic. Right. He is just trying to kind of be this generic action star.
Yeah.
He's trying to, and he also, personally, he's trying to separate himself from the wrestler, from The Rock. He went as Dwayne Johnson and go as Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Right.
He didn't want anybody to call him that anymore. He kind of tried to move on with his life.
He was trying to show another side of himself.
Yeah, and I think what he learned he had to do is he had to kind of embrace that, and you really do feel like in a way, I do feel like I'm watching that late 90s, early 2000s Rock.
Yeah.
From, the WWF. And his interactions and his charisma is really shining through.
Yeah.
Because when he was a wrestler, whether he was a face, a good guy, or a heel, a villain, you loved watching him.
Yeah.
And you could be scared of him, or you could be laughing at him.
Yeah.
And
you can do both.
And at the same time. Literally at the same time. And you get that here. You really get that here. He's really using that in such an amazing way. Hobbs is intimidating, like you said. You believe that if anybody can catch this crew, it's Hobbs.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the guy from the fourth movie or anybody from the first movie or anything like that. It's Hobbs.
It's Hobbs.
He's gonna mess these guys up.
Yes. He's going to get them and he is going to put them away. That is his goal. That is his mission. And yeah, you're right. I mean, even speaking to like his wrestling persona, even now, like as you're right, he went into acting. When he started acting, he wanted to be known as Dwayne Johnson. But now, more days, I see him really embracing both sides of himself. I see him more now going by Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Yeah. Like he seems to finally accept that The Rock is just always going to be a part of his persona. And it's something that he can still tune into with his acting. And I think in a way, The Rock, whether that persona, however he feels about it, which I think he has embraced it now, that is what makes, in a way, his acting really great, because he is able to mesh The Rock and Dwayne Johnson together and make these really great characters. Yeah. And Hobbs is really, it's one of his best. Yeah. I mean, if you ask me right now, what's one of The Rock's best roles? I will tell you Hobbs straight up. Yeah. That's how much I like this character.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I don't want to get sidetracked on the Dwayne The Rock Johnson stuff.
Right.
But that definitely seems like publicists giving him some bad advice. Like, you wanted to make a name for yourself. You want to distance yourself from this. But I think he learned that he really needs to embrace that side, like you said.
Right.
And when he does that, he became way more popular, way more successful. And not saying he wasn't successful before, but he's getting way better roles. He all of a sudden went from like being in The Game Plan or The Tooth Fairy to being in these, some of the highest grossing movies of the year of all time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
I mean, if you look, I mean, literally, I mean, he's probably one of the highest grossing actors and probably had the greatest rise of the 2010s. Mm-hmm. I mean, The Rock before 2010 was, again, he's popular, but he wasn't like in any franchises. He wasn't making anything that people were going out to see.
Yep.
The 2010s Rock, it's incredible to watch that trajectory of going from, and it starts with this movie. It starts with Fast Five, and you see him just a meteoric rise. It's a meteoric rise.
Do you know what he does right before this movie? He comes back to WWE for the first time in years.
Wow.
So that's what I mean. I think that is definitely, he is, with this role and kind of taking this step towards his future, he is embracing his past and who he is. He's learned that he can no longer deny, who he is and where he's come from and stuff.
Yes.
And I just kind of feel like during that period of like, the mid to late 2000s, that's kind of what he was trying to do to reinvent himself as like the new Arnold Schwarzenegger or Stallone.
Right.
But that's not who he is. He's The Rock, and he needs to be The Rock.
He has to, and that's what brings him success.
Yeah, I could talk hours on The Rock.
We could. I don't want to get sidetracked. I just wanted to focus on him because he is a major addition to this cast.
Let's talk about the villain. Okay.
Yeah, let's.
We have Hernan Reyes. He is the full-on villain. Okay.
He's the full villain.
You mentioned Hobbs is kind of an antagonist.
Yes.
This is the actual villain.
Yes.
What'd you think?
I liked him a lot. He's like a scuzzy businessman, mafia, whatever he is, kind of guy. And all I got from him, because it feels like it doesn't focus on him too much. You're not getting a bunch of scenes with this villain, which I really liked, because I think previous movies, they kind of try to focus on the villain too much and they give them all these scenes to show them how evil they are. In this one, you kind of just get the vibe. Like, after a certain amount of time, I went, yeah, I want to see this guy get robbed. Like, he's not a good person, and I want to see him get robbed. I want them to steal his money, because this guy is just, he is scuzzy, he's a snake, and I want to see him get robbed.
What I liked about it is that there's not a lot of, there's basically no build up to this villain.
Yes.
Right? He just walks into the scene.
Yes.
Right? They don't, the FBI needs you to take down this guy. There's none of that. There's no mission.
No,
there's no mission. It's just, they're on the run. They're trying to do a job to make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Because of that, they kind of cross the path of this guy.
Yep.
And they get on his bad side, and they know that if they don't do something, he's going to try and come after them. So why don't we go after him first, take him down? And he does have kind of this great presence. I think he's the best villain in the franchise so far.
Oh, I agree. No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, as far as like being the most interesting, this guy's it.
Yeah, because he does what, and again, we are again, another drug dealer, right?
Yes,
basically,
yes.
or another drug kingpin or whatever,
Right.
We had it in 2, we had it in 4, now we had it in 5.
Yeah.
And nothing against those characters in 2 and 4, but he does what they were trying to do so much better.
Ugh.
I believe that this guy people are scared of this guy.
Yeah.
He's not trying to be the muscle. He doesn't need to be that. He has that henchman that kind of takes care of all that. And he's scary. He is scary. You do believe that, these odds that are against this team, can they really pull it off? How are they going to get it done?
Yeah.
And when the time comes for them to be scared or nervous about pulling off this heist, you believe that why they're scared. You really believe that this may not work at times.
Yeah, he is a dangerous person without having to be the muscle.
Yeah,
like he plays that role of just a dangerous drug kingpin in the way that like he has all of this stuff around. He has all of these henchmen around him that will handle things. He controls so many things. He's pulling so many strings, and that's what makes him dangerous. He's intelligent. That's what makes him dangerous.
When he takes all of his money and he puts it in the police station.
In the police station.
What a powerful move.
Do you know how many strings you have to pull? Like, this guy bought the police, where he was like, yeah, I'm going to buy the police hat so I can put my vault in there. And, I mean, even just, like, the layers they have to, even outside of it being in a police vault, they need the fingerprint. They need to get the vault out of the police station. That's a whole thing. Like, I'm like, you're like, how are they going to do this? And they do it. And, boy, does it lead to a great scene. We'll get to that. But, it's like... It's just like incredible, like the amount of villainy this guy has in him. He's a real living, breathing like I believe that this guy exists. Yeah. That's what's different. Like he's not over the top. Like I think one of the biggest problems, we talked about like Too Fast, Too Furious, that villain, very over the top. Even 3, very over the top. This guy was believable. Like, I could believe this guy is walking around the earth right now.
Well, we know people like this guy exist.
Yes. Yeah. We know that somebody like this exists, and that's what makes it scary.
You're right. I mean, he really has a presence to him. He has a presence to him, and he's intimidating. And he's a really talented actor. I'm not really familiar with any of his work, but I know he's kind of, from what Justin Lin was saying on the commentary, he, has had a kind of a really good career and done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And no, it's a really intimidating performance. He is serious in a manner that's still entertaining.
Yes.
He's not boring.
Yes.
A lot of the stuff with Braga in the 4th one, I thought was kind of boring.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this guy he's not over the top like the 2nd one. He's not overly serious like the 4th one. He really finds that line and he walks it.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, really cool. Another new entrance into this franchise I do want to mention, because she does come back, is Elsa Pataky as Elena Neves, who is The Rock's right-hand man, basically. He picks her for different reasons. And I think she gives a pretty good performance. She doesn't have a lot to do. Justin Lin talks in the commentary, because this is such a big ensemble cast.
Right.
You do have to have these small moments. Right. But even in the little bit of moments she has a really nice scene with Dom in her apartment about her husband and why she wants to be a cop and stuff.
Right.
I think she really nails it.
I think she does a good job too. I mean, like you said, she doesn't do a lot, but doesn't have a lot to do. But she is very, very good in the role. And she ends up becoming one of the allies later on. She starts out kind of like you don't really believe that she's an antagonist even when she's introduced. Like, you kind of get the vibe that maybe there's something else going on there. Whereas, that's kind of the opposite with The Rock. He walks in and you're like, this guy's an antagonist. With her, she kind of is introduced and you kind of don't buy that she's an antagonist immediately. You're like, okay, she's incredibly intelligent. She knows the streets of Rio de Janeiro. Yeah. And that's what makes her kind of an asset to him. She knows this country. She knows this city.
And she's loyal.
Well, to a point, she's loyal.
Well, she's not dirty.
She's
You know
not
what I mean?
dirty.
Yeah,
Right,
she's
right.
not
She's
dirty.
not a dirty cop.
And you see that with when there's a scene and they're interacting and they're in the garage after they kind of flush out Dom's crew from their hiding spot.
Yeah.
And they're there. And there's the kind of really funny scene with the guy, he has to put the car back together.
Yeah.
But she's going through the files and she's like, these guys don't have the profile of somebody who would shoot those officers on the train.
Right.
And The Rock just kind of throws the file away.
Yeah.
So you are kind of seeing that even though, he is so good at his job, he does have these flaws where she's able to kind of think more clearly.
Yes.
And be
yes.
like, hey, I don't think these guys are as dangerous or as evil as you may think.
Right.
And also, I try not to define people by who they are married to, or whatever. But do you know who Elsa Pataki's married to?
No, I do not.
Her husband is Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yep.
Wow. He's what a guy.
And
That's a man.
He was on the set of this film.
He was there.
He was
just hanging out.
Yeah.
Was he just hanging out?
Yep.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like this was pre-Thor. Then.
Yeah, it was right before Thor.
He had nothing to do. So he's just hanging out on set.
He was Thor. He had not debuted yet.
He had not
been
debuted, but
cast.
he was cast.
Yes. So, like in 2011, Justin Lin talks about filming this movie and talks about how Chris Hemsworth was on set and he was intimidated because like that's Thor over there. Like
That's so funny. That is so funny. That's really great. I mean,
you almost kind of wish he was in the movie.
You kind of wish he was there. Yeah. I mean, that's really, really cool. I did not know that he was on set, but that's so cool. What a fun fact. I mean, and like right before, like literally, he hasn't even debuted as Thor. He's cast, but is not debuted. And, as the press was saying at that time, he was a nobody.
Yeah.
Him and Tom Hiddleston were nobodies. So like him kind of being there, it's funny because it's kind of like you have to imagine at that time, he's also not really a presence on set. Like people aren't really, taken by him because they're like, oh yeah, okay, there's her husband, Chris, where he's about to have one of the biggest career moves in his entire life, right? That's incredible.
Well, what's funny is that Thor 1 debuted in America on May 6, 2011. So his debut is like a week later.
A week later.
So his wife's in this film.
How was he on set but not filming Thor?
So he had just finished filming Thor.
Wow.
And he goes to the Fast Five set.
That's really great.
And he's hanging out.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
I just think that was a cool little moment,
Yeah,
so
that's fantastic.
like I said, I try not to define people by who they're married by, but that just was so cool.
I mean, that's a noteworthy person to mention because it's Chris Hemsworth.
He's right about to blow up,
literally,
and he's just hanging out on set,
just hanging out on a Fast Five set, like hanging out in Rio de Janeiro, like
And to hear Justin Lin talk about how like he was just intimidated because he's like, that's Thor over there.
That's
like,
Thor right there. That guy's gonna be Thor in a Marvel movie.
So, yeah, there's plenty of people to talk about in this movie and this cast. Who else do you want to talk about? Are there any other things you really want to hammer home about, character-wise or cast-wise, performance-wise?
Leo and Santos, man. Those guys are great. I really think they need to do a I'm going to keep pushing this every week. They need to do a spin-off film. If Justin Lin ever hears this, please, Leo and Santos. Fast and Furious presents Leo and Santos. That's all I want. These guys are so fun. Like, how can you not? Like, they're awesome. Like, they're great. They have great chemistry. They bring like really great comic relief to this movie. Like the whole bathroom scene. They walk in. Oh, you used too much explosive. They're arguing the whole time while they're trying to do the job. It's very reminiscent again of like Ocean's 11 with Casey Affleck's character, and I don't know who the other actor is. I know he was in like Hawaii Five-0 or something, but I don't remember the other actor's name, and I apologize. But like it's reminiscent of that relationship where, they're bickering the entire time while they're doing the job. It's the same thing here. These two are just bickering. It's fun to watch. They're hilarious together. Leo and Santos. Bring me Fast and Furious presents Leo and Santos. I will watch like 5 spinoffs of that movie.
They really shined in this movie.
They do. They shine.
I know you kind of pinpointed them last week, but it's so quick. It's almost blink and you miss it with them in 4.
Yes.
But with 5, they really shine. And in a movie where everybody shines, to really shine is really incredible.
Yes.
Our boy Han is back.
Our boy Han is back. He has a lot more to do this movie. He's really enjoyable. I mean, he gets a romance this movie, essentially. He gets a romance with Giselle.
It's quick, it's small, but it really works. They
really
have
works.
good chemistry with each other.
Yes.
It really plays off. And we mentioned before, Gal Gadot, not the strongest actress. right? But she does have a charisma. She has a toughness to her.
Yes.
I meant to mention this last week. Justin Lin mentioned on the commentary for 4 that, he did choose her because she is intimidating and she could kind of go toe-to-toe with Vin Diesel. Which was believable.
Yes,
she wasn't, you didn't think that she should be like shying away from him or whatever. She wasn't afraid, even in the audition process, she wasn't afraid of Vin Diesel.
Right.
Which I imagine for a lot of actresses would be. You know what I mean?
And she walks in and is just badass in your face.
Yeah. So here, again, does have the charisma,
Yep.
does have the chemistry with Han. And it's really fun to watch.
Yeah.
The scene at the end, we do get another one of the teases. Now, like I mentioned to you last week, we get another one of the teases.
Oh, Tokyo tease.
Where should we go? Are we going to go to Tokyo? We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Eventually.
We'll get there eventually. And it's just, look, I liked Han in this movie. I liked Giselle in this movie a lot more than I liked her in the 4th movie.
Yeah.
Like, she's really, she has a lot more to do, too. I mean, even putting her behind the wheel, she's... fantastic. She's ripping the car around. She's going, and even as she's driving, Han literally is falling in love with her. He literally says as she's driving, he's like, I think I just fell in love. He's like, I think I'm in love. Like, he's just sold on her. He's like, I love this woman. She's incredible. And they have great chemistry. They really sell it. They're both really enjoyable in this movie. I like them a lot.
I like the little callback to Han being a smoker because, like we mentioned in Better Luck Tomorrow, he's a smoker.
They literally talk about it in this movie. Yeah.
And she just calls him out on it.
And she calls him out on it. He goes, you were a smoker. You're eating all the time. Like,
I just love Better Luck Tomorrow. I love any little reference to that movie.
Yes.
I'm going to eat them all up.
I also just want to give... I want to point out too, Ludacris back as Tej. He's really good. Somehow has made the jump to a tech guy, which
The one thing I was confused about is he talks about when he gets the money, he wants to open a shop. But didn't he have a shop in Too Fast, Too Furious?
He did.
So,
but again, we don't know what happened between now
and then. Yeah.
I mean, he is this guy who runs all these promotional things. Maybe he lost money. Maybe a race didn't go the way he wanted to, and he lost the shop. I don't know. Maybe that's possible. But I like the only reference we have to him knowing all this stuff about tech is, I had a life before this. I had a life before you knew me. And you're like, oh, okay, so you played with technology. You know all this stuff about technology. And we're not really going to know what that life was. But I like that he's kind of the tech guy. He's very, very good.
I mean, I know it's a leap to really go into tech. But like, if you're really familiar with cars and stuff like that, I feel like you kind of have a basic... understanding of a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
Because it kind of goes into like it is a mechanical skill to have to be able to be good with cars. So it is believable. It does definitely jump to what he's kind of doing later on. Where he's more of like even a hacker role or whatever.
Yeah, he can.
But knowing about like safes and stuff like that, it makes sense.
Yes.
And I do like, again, the big thing about all of these characters. And again, this is something that we mentioned with 4, is that Justin Lin really seems to play with this world continued after you left these people.
Yes.
Right? And we are seeing these people, and obviously it hasn't been that long since we've seen Giselle.
Yeah.
And really Han, but it was so short.
Even it's such a small role.
Yeah. But they do feel like they've grown. Every single person here feels like they've grown and they've changed and they've become better people.
Yeah.
One specific that we're going to talk about in just a minute really has kind of grown and changed as a character. And I love seeing that we don't need to see every little detail of these people's lives to understand what's going on. Right? We are just seeing these little snippets and seeing where they grow. And I love that, clearly Tej and Roman kind of, had this friendship or, some, I guess, interactions, off screen, and they really know each other more. Because, like we mentioned when we did Too Fast, Too Furious, they don't really interact that much. Like, they meet, but they don't really interact that much. I know Roman Pierce is kind of a lot of people's least favorite character in this franchise. Because or a lot more like maybe the critics, because he does become kind of like
comic relief.
And like he's like I mentioned before, his role is to, we have to steal a vault, we have to drive a car out of an airplane, we have to drive a car on a building.
It's kind of doubt.
Or like kind of like he's screaming, I can't believe we're doing this. What are we doing? What like he's kind of like that. Like that's like his job.
That was a good Roman Pierce. What are we doing?
Is to like scream and to be like, I'm not doing that. Type of thing. That's ridiculous. But here, he's really funny to me.
Yes. He's really good.
I don't agree with those criticisms. That's everybody has different tastes, and that's fine. But I think that he knows what he's doing. Is it kind of one note?
Yeah.
It is. But it's a good note.
Dude, I laughed at a lot of his lines. Like, I laughed at a lot of the moments with him. Like, I mean, number one, he has the best line in this movie. This isn't Mission Impossible. This is Mission Insanity. Like,
I don't really care for that line.
I love that line. Are you kidding me? That's great. I'm like, this is fantastic.
I think it's the frickin' mission frickin' insanity. I don't like the frickin'.
Yeah,
it seems a little.
See, I dropped the frickin' because I didn't even hear it. I just heard this is Mission Insanity. I just thought it was hilarious. I'm like, that's so funny. But he has another really great moment, like just of like physical comedy where they're like, we need somebody to go into the police station to drop this box, and then everybody looks at him. He's kind of sitting there eating, and then he kind of like lifts his head. He like looks around everybody, and he doesn't say anything, but I laughed really hard because I was like, that's really good physical comedy, and this guy's not getting the credit he deserves because it's hard to do that. Like, and I think people aren't giving him credit because that is, comedy is hard. It's hard, and physical comedy without saying anything is hard, and he's pulling it off. Like, credit where credit's due. Roman Pierce is funny. Tyrese Gibson is funny in the role. He's good.
Even the little scene when he goes into the police station
Yes.
and he's interacting with, like, first off the female officer and then the male officer, and he's cracking the jokes like, hey, you lifting weight? How much you lift?
Yes.
300, 400, like little things. And when he shows the ID, I'm Brian O'Connor. It says I'm Caucasian. That's a tan.
Oh, it's a tan. You've never seen this? It's a tan. It's so good. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he has, like, funny moments in this movie where I just laughed. Like, I laughed at all of his moments because I'm like, he's really good. Like, he's funny.
Yeah.
He's selling this role. And he, like you said, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, he's charismatic, and he uses it to his advantage.
Yes.
And I think that the role in anybody else's hands probably doesn't work as well, but Tyrese Gibson does a good job.
Yeah, I really like him.
The big one.
Yeah.
Your boy's back. You hated him in the first movie. Vince is back.
Yeah, okay. This
This is big.
is a big moment.
This is a big moment.
Big moment.
You hated Vince. You've been quoted saying some mean things about Vince. What'd you think?
I didn't hate him this movie. I think he redeems himself a lot in this film. I'll give him that. Not my favorite character at all.
I think the character and the actor both redeem themselves. I think Matt Schultz is doing a much better job.
I will agree with you on that front. I think he is much better in this movie. He redeems himself a lot. I'm not even going to say unnecessarily harsh with the first. I think I was fairly harsh in the first movie on him. He deserved it. But this movie, he is really, really good. He redeems himself. I think the character is much more interesting. He is doing more with the role to make Vince more interesting. In a way, he plays the sacrifice role. You know, he plays the sacrifice role where he dies, obviously. He's probably not going to be back. I doubt he's ever going to be back. I know they brought Han back, but I think that's going to be a hard no on Matt Schultz. I don't think he'll be back. But he does a lot more with the role, and he's more interesting to me. I enjoyed him more. I will say he redeems himself. That's what I'll say. Again, he was not the standout for me in this movie. He was not my favorite character in this movie, but I could bear him more. Yeah. And I think it's because he calmed down more too. Like, he was more accepting of Brian. And there's even those moments where, you know, you're not even sure if he's good or bad because things are happening right after he joins and people are like, what's going on? Like, and they're blaming him and he's claiming it's not him. And it's not him. Really, it's not him.
Well, it is a good role reversal because he is working for Reyes in the beginning of the movie.
He is.
So, and I love that, like, you know, you get the role reversal of, like, he was so judgmental of Brian in the first movie for kind of trying to sell them out and everything. Yeah. And here he's basically doing the same thing to them. And, you know, the scene, kind of the stare down with Vin Diesel, with Dom, and I wish I didn't see that, and getting in his face and stuff. Yeah. It's a really good moment. Yeah. His small interactions with Brian and Mia were really nice. And it was really good to see him, you know, kind of have this family. Again, he's in the movie less than anybody else in this movie or any of these other returning characters. But it was really nice to see him. It was really nice to kind of see where he's been and what he's been doing and the kind of the life that he's made for himself. Yes. I really like the continuity of, like, he's got the scars on his arm from what happened. Mm-hmm. And it's just really cool. I'm a sucker for returning characters.
Look, I think, here's what I'll say. It gives the character of Vince the proper closure. that he needs. Because when at the end of the first movie, we just see him get taken off in that helicopter. We don't know what happens to him. We don't hear from him again for 3 movies. We don't know what happened to Vince after he gets lifted off in that helicopter. Now we know. He found his way to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He's working for Reyes at the beginning. He's doing what he has to. He has a family. He has a wife and a kid. He has a family. He's trying to take care of them, and he's making money for them. You know, that really comes around at the end, and it's really, really nice, actually. It's actually a really sweet moment at the end of the movie. But, like, the character is redeemed. The character and the actor are redeemed. He gets closure, and that's what's important.
It's just nice to see him revisited because he could be such a nothing character if they give him this moment to kind of, like you said, redeem, but to really just make him more than just this blip on the radar, right?
Yes.
You know, we have people, you know, we've already seen people in this franchise so far that we know we're not going to really see again, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for obvious reasons, Jesse in the first movie, he didn't make it out.
Yeah.
But, you know, we kind of see, like, I don't see any chances of us seeing, unless there's a really big surprise in F9, I don't think there's a chance of us seeing Neela again or DK again, you know what I mean? We do see, you know, I'm surprised that we even see Sean Boswell again, to be honest.
He kind of becomes a part of these movies, these later movies even,
and I really am surprised about that. But I'm glad that, you know, Vince isn't that. You know what I mean? That they do give him this chance to kind of one last ride. Let's do this character. Let's send him off right. There's a little bit of an awkward moment where he gets shot in such a weird way, like kind of off screen. Like you can hear him go, ow, when he gets shot or whatever.
Yes.
But then they're all kind of just sitting in the tank or the car or whatever. and like Dom's literally staring off the distance.
Nobody knows this guy's injured. Nobody knows.
And he just goes, Dom. And Dom turns around, oh my God, you're shot.
He goes, oh my God. He's just like profusely bleeding. And he's like, oh my God. And then, you know, and then you don't even, what I like too is that you don't even, they don't make you like watch him die.
Yeah.
Like the next scene right after that is him on the table. He's just on the table covered and he's done. And you're like, wow, at least they didn't make, there wasn't like this, you know,
drawn out
ridiculous moment. Because I don't really like when movies do that, but it's like this drawn out moment where you have to watch them die. It's like just, show us him, you know, we get it. He's dying. And I'm glad they just cut to that.
Well, like you mentioned, you know, comparing this to like Han or Letty, we see the body. He's dead. When you see the body, he's done.
We saw the body. He's gone. And, you know, that's, again, it's good. I mean, it's good the character got closure. I will not take back what I said about Vince in the first movie, but I will say he redeems himself, and there's nothing for me to be harsh about here. He's really, really good in this movie.
It's a very nice little arc between the first movie and the second movie. And the fifth movie.
The second movie. It's a really nice arc between this and the fifth movie.
Where have you been?
Where have I been? I don't know.
And then let's talk about, I don't want to stick on the cast all day, but with this may be the next couple of movies, because with just an ensemble cast so big, you don't really want to leave anybody out.
We have to touch on it.
Let's talk about the main 3 now. The main 4, main 3. Now have Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, and Jordana Brewster. We can start with Jordana Brewster. Mia, probably the most she's had to do in any of the movies.
The most.
She's in the action.
Yes.
She's driving cars.
She's part of the heist.
She's part of the heist. A small part, because she's pregnant. She's more of like the guy in the chair, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, she's kind of she hangs back, kind of like at the base, and is
guiding
them where to go. Yeah.
She's in the action sequences, running across the rooftop.
Yep.
And she has, like I said, has more to do. Kind of, you know, really, we've been talking, you know, again, she is kind of the heart of the movie. Like, I feel like we've said it the last couple of movies that she's been in. She really is kind of the heart of the movie. She brings the emotional movies. And I know Justin Lin has kind of credited her to delivering what he thinks is the toughest line in the entire movie. And that's the, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you can do that and it can kind of be like laughable. You know, oh, of course she's pregnant, or, you know, whatever. Or it can be, you know, not, kind of a weak moment, but it's kind of a pretty powerful moment.
Well, it's like the perfect time
to
do it. Yeah.
And just the delivery of it. And again, the chemistry between her and Paul Walker is really great.
It's off the charts.
It's really great.
Off the
you
charts.
really believe that they love each other.
Yeah.
And even the chemistry that she has with Vin Diesel, you do believe, they don't really look alike, but you do believe this like brother-sister relationship.
Yeah, you buy the sibling relationship.
Yeah. And that he really cares, and I love that, you know, they have to stick together for her and everything.
Yeah.
So I think that she's really great. I know apparently she's a really big trooper. Justin Lin mentioned that she got hurt. You can actually see her hand in one scene during the rooftop chase is bandaged.
Yeah.
Because she got hurt while filming the scene. And they were like, let's take you to the hospital. And she's like, nope, we're doing this.
Yeah.
We're filming.
Wow.
So really kind of tough.
That's awesome.
Not going to go down. I want to get this done. So really great to see her back. I'm really glad that she's becoming more of an integral part of this story and kind of not this side piece.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think you covered everything about her there. I mean, I really liked her this movie. I think she brings a lot of, emotion again. She really, again, she's the glue that kind of holds Dom and Brian together. And she does deliver the toughest line, the I'm pregnant line. Yeah. But even that's a really great scene, too, because it's just, it's really lovely. And, Dom kind of just like, you get to see Dom actually become emotional over it. And it's really, really lovely. But also, she's in the action. She's a badass. I mean, she like with the bus at the very beginning, she's in the car helping stop the bus.
She's holding her own.
Yeah, she's holding her own. And then she becomes, like you said, a part of the heist. Yeah, kind of like a woman in the chair type thing where she's just navigating and guiding. But it works. She does a really good job. And you buy it because she's pregnant. Yeah. She can't be out in the field. Yeah. She has to do this. But they kind of make up for that by having Giselle in the field, I think.
Yeah.
So it kind of like makes up for it. But it's really, really good. And she's great. Yeah, I really liked her.
Yeah. And then we have the top two, the co-leads. We got Vin Diesel. We got Paul Walker. Again, they're back.
They're back.
They're better than ever.
This is the best they've been yet. Like, and I thought, like, again, when we talked for last week, I said, oh yeah, Paul Walker, this is the best he's been. This is the best.
Even better.
But even Vin Diesel, I was kind of like whatever on. This movie, I loved both of them. Yeah. I went, this is great.
They feel like in this movie, they feel like movie stars.
Yes.
They come in and Dom's got this incredible entrance into the movie because you see his car drive up.
Yeah.
But you don't see him.
You do not see
him.
And
then they're on the train. Again, it's like 15 minutes in and you just see the train, the side of the train start to get sawed into or cut into.
Yeah.
Comes out and Dom just walks in and there it is.
There it is.
And you're like, there he is.
There he is.
And I love that Dom got like 15 minutes in the first movie without Brian. Now Paul Walker's getting it again. Yeah. 15 minutes in this movie without Dom.
Just leading the movie.
Yeah, kind of leading the movie. They can do that. They really have that balance. They're really balancing the use of these two characters. Nobody feels more important than the other.
Right.
The chemistry between Paul Walker and Vin Diesel is really great.
Yeah.
You believe this friendship. You believe that he's finally won him over, that he really is now part of this crew.
Yes.
And part of this family.
Yes.
And obviously, the big joke, and we have mentioned, but the big joke is family, right? A lot of people like to make fun of Vin Diesel saying that, these films are about family and saying family a lot.
Yes.
And this summer the memes blew up.
Yeah.
But it really is. I mean, it really is about family, and they are a family.
Yeah.
And Brian is such an important part of that. Dom's such an important part of that. The action that they're doing, the stunts that Paul Walker's doing, that I believe, obviously everybody has to have a stunt double and stuff, but basically Paul Walker's doing everything here himself.
Yes.
You believe that, you see that.
Yeah.
It works so well. He's great at it. Dom, the fight scene that he has to have with Hobbs was something we'll talk about a little bit later, but that's a really great scene. And then, again, they are able to pull off those more quiet moments.
Yeah.
And the scene on the porch where they're talking about their fathers. That's a beautiful scene.
Yeah. It's really, really well done.
And that should not work in this movie.
No, it shouldn't. But this movie goes to all these different places that, like, why not just have a really nice, emotional, dramatic scene like that? And it works.
Well, you mentioned in the first movie that your favorite scene was the I Live My Life a Quarter Mile at a Time scene.
It's a great scene.
And in that scene, he talks about his father and his past and everything like that. And that is basically the sequel to this.
I was going to say, it feels like it just came back around. And I wonder if they watched that first movie, saw that speech, and went, we need another moment like that with Dom and Brian, and let's just really have them open up about their fathers, and let's have them talk about it. And, of course, you find out Dom had a wonderful father. He had a father that cared about him, that loved him, and, was always there for him. And that's why he believes so much in family. And Brian had the complete opposite. He didn't even know his father.
Which I think is a really interesting twist, kind of, because you would think that the cop would maybe have the better relationship with his father and the criminal would have the bad relationship with his father. Not saying that if you have a bad relationship with your father, you're going to be a criminal. I'm not trying to say that at all. Stereotypically, it's viewed like if a boy doesn't have a father figure in his life, then maybe he'll go down the wrong path.
Right.
But it's funny that Dom had this amazing father figure in his life, and he still went down the path of being a criminal.
Right.
Not a bad person, but he is a criminal.
Yeah, to the definition of criminal, yes.
You're absolutely right. And I believe, Justin Lin did mention his belief is connecting these movies.
Yes.
And that was his goal with this one as well, to even connect more. He knew when he was going on to 5, there's one thing we got to do. We brought the crew back. Now we got to bring back everybody.
Right.
Let's bring back these side characters. Let's bring them all back.
Right.
You can feel kind of the love that he has for this franchise as a whole. So I would not be surprised if you're right. He absolutely was like, let's have, this moment, not only an emotional moment for this movie, but kind of this continuation from the first movie of this speech.
Yeah.
And it's a great scene.
Yeah, it's a really great scene.
Just the performances of both of them, not only with the action, but like I said, this scene demonstrates that they have the heart and the emotion for this franchise.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes this not just a Transformers, not just a bland action movie, because you actually connect with and care about these characters. I love these guys. I love this team. As cliched as it is, I feel like I'm in this family.
Yes.
You really kind of connect with these people.
Agreed. I completely agree with everything you said. I have nothing to add to that. That was like, you said everything I thought. I was like, that's perfect. It's great.
It's just a highlight of how wonderful these guys are.
It's
everybody in this movie is on their A game. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Everyone's on their A game, and I think the only other thing I want to say is just like, you can tell everyone cares. You can tell everyone wants to be there and wants to make a great movie.
Yep.
And it shines through.
Yep. This film had a budget of $125 million.
Whew!
So they are putting more money into here.
Yeah.
The fourth one had an $85 million budget, made $300-something million. Right?
Made money.
Let's put more into this.
Yeah.
And Justin Lin has this emphasis, we have to go practical. We need to up the budget because we have to go practical.
Yes.
These things have to happen.
Yes.
He's received criticism in the past about, kind of the silly CGI.
Yeah.
How everything kind of feels fake in some of the scenes. Let's make this real. And this movie feels real. You see that budget in this movie. I would think this is way more than a $125 million budget movie.
I thought this was like $200 million. I mean, it's really something. The fact that he was able to pull this off at $125 million is really impressive.
Well, I think, this is the guy who pulled off Better Luck Tomorrow, which is a movie that we both highly praised.
Yes.
It was less than $1 million.
Less than $1 million. The fact that he's able to pull this off, I mean, he knows how to... I think he knows how to budget. I think that's one of his strengths as a director. He knows how to budget correctly, and I think that really shines here.
Yeah, I think he knows how to get what he needs in different creative manners than just relying on money. You know what I mean? Like, he knows, they just hire the best people, they do the best stunts and everything like that.
Right.
And again, $125 million and a cast like this. You got to imagine that a good chunk of that probably went to the cast alone.
Yeah, I mean, just for Vin Diesel alone. I mean, Vin Diesel and Paul Walker alone probably got nice paydays for this.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if maybe there was some sort of a deal where maybe they took less from the budget and signed on for box office returns. Because that's kind of a thing, too.
Speaking of box office, $626.1 million.
This is the biggest one they've done yet.
So far,
yep. The biggest one they've done yet.
This is showing you put the money in, you get it back.
Oh, my God. That's like... incredible. Again, I mean, I've said it before, but like the trajectory of this franchise, these first 4 films that were performing well, but nowhere near 600 million. And like they cracked it with this.
Like I mentioned last week, they were hesitant to make this movie right away because they didn't think that there would be a want or a desire from the audience for this movie. And guess what? It's there.
Yeah. They didn't think they waited on filming back-to-back, like you said last week.
Yeah.
And they wanted to see how 4 performed. Yeah. It performed well, obviously, 300-something million. That's really good. Enough that they could put money back into it. And look what the returns were. I mean, over 600 million. Yeah. I mean, that's really, really good, especially for 2011 at that time. That's a very, very good return.
Well, like we mentioned, opening night, sold out audience.
Sold out audience. Yeah. Completely sold out. And yeah, no, that's really, really awesome. Wow.
Rotten Tomatoes score, 77% certified fresh critic score.
Good.
And an 83% fresh audience score.
One of the closer ones. One of the closer ones. This is probably one of the few that critics and audiences agree on that this is a fun movie.
Yeah.
And not even a fun movie. It's a good movie. It's worth your time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's really good. Yeah, no, I mean, that's great to hear.
This is where the franchise is kind of like, hey, are we going to win Academy Awards? No, but we're just going to have fun and we're going to tell a good, interesting, entertaining story.
Yeah, there's no Oscars here.
No.
We're not going to get an Oscar. We're not getting an Academy Award nominated, but we're going to have fun making movies because that's, for some people, that's just what it's about. It's about having fun.
And a synopsis for this movie. After Mia and Brian free Dom from going to prison, the trio escape to Rio de Janeiro, where they are reunited with Vince. After a car heist going wrong, the trio find themselves enemy of crime lord Hernan Reyes, as well as targets for diplomatic security service agent Luke Hobbs. In order to survive, they must put together a team to pull off an impossible heist. So they call in some help from Roman, Tej, Giselle, Han, and Leo and Santos. As the crew comes together, they find that their family is getting bigger in more ways than one.
That's a great synopsis. The family is getting bigger in more ways. Like, you don't even believe it. It is. It really is. I bet that's perfect. That's a perfect synopsis.
It's a really fun story.
Yeah.
You know, we've already touched on this a little bit. We're just going to really quickly. It's a really fun story.
Yeah.
Chris Morgan did a really great job with the script. Really entertained. And I could not see. They went in the perfect direction. We a big thing that we are always talking about is where should they have gone? What should they have done? This. I don't want anything else from this movie.
This is perfect. This is what you do.
You already know how we feel about this, but let's talk about our opinions on this film. What'd you think?
It's the best film we've watched yet. Absolutely. 100% the best film we've watched yet. It's fun. It's action-packed. It's a heist movie. It's a crew movie. I mean, there's so many layers. There's comedy. There's action. There's drama. There's heist. I mean, the amount of genres mixed into this movie, it shouldn't work. But boy, it does. It does. And you wouldn't think that it would, especially with a cast this big. Normally, when casts blow up like this, I always find that it's usually not as good as it could be because they just don't know where the focus goes. The focus kind of ends up all over the place. There's movies that do it really, really well. There's movies that do it really well. Like, I think, again, the Oceans movies do it really well. More recently with the Avengers films, those last two films, they do really well balancing all those characters. But this is kind of uncharted territory at this time, and they balance everybody well, and it works, and the story is interesting. It's awesome. Yeah.
Ensemble movies can get very sloppy
very
if done
sloppy.
wrong. And
quickly.
And this almost, in a way, predates the Avengers, so in a way, this is almost like it is the Avengers of this franchise.
It's the Avengers of the franchise.
Yeah. You know, bringing everybody together and making this super team.
Yes.
And then they're together from now on, basically.
Yeah, they're family.
So
they're family.
They're family.
They are an absolute family. But yeah, no, this is a movie we've raved about. We've been excited for this forever. So I think our opinion is pretty clear. We love this movie.
Yeah, I mean,
we really like it.
Like I said, it's incredible. This is an incredible movie.
It really is. It's like an incredible movie. It's so much fun. Like if you ask, okay, this is how much I love this movie. If you go, rank your like top 5 action movies of the 2010s, like
this is in there somewhere.
This is in there somewhere. Like this is easily in my top 5. I feel like there's some people who would just maybe, and this is no offense to them, but would maybe pick all superhero movies.
The Avengers or whatever, yeah.
Avengers, or maybe they liked Shazam or something like that. For me, Fast 5, this is in the top 5 of the 2010s. This is an incredible movie.
What if one of the other movies is better?
What if? You know, we'll get there. What if? We'd actually like to promote What If by Marvel right now. And
check it out on Disney Plus.
Check it out on Disney Plus.
Marvel, if you're listening, send us one of those checks. No, I mean, it really is. This is one of those movies that I when I think about this movie before, or when I've thought about this movie before, it's like, oh yeah, it's a really fun movie. I'm like, no, this is a really fun movie.
This is
a definition of a popcorn movie.
Yes.
I'm sitting there chomping away.
Yes.
It's just smile on your face the entire time.
Opening scene happens. I'm in. Like, I'm sold immediately. I couldn't even, like, I got to it and I was just like, this is what I love. Like, I'm like, I already know this is going to be ridiculous. I can already feel how big this is going to go, and I love it, and I felt it immediately.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. It's funny. It's fun. It's enthralling. The return of the side characters feels earned. It doesn't feel cheap. This could just be like we're bringing people back for the sake of bringing people back. And that's not what this is. It really feels like, they set this up. If you would have told me that this was the plan all the entire time, I would have believed you.
Yes.
But it clearly wasn't.
It was not. They threw this together and it worked.
It could have easily felt cheap and empty. The humor feels slightly dated, like I mentioned, but it's not overly offensive in any manner. It feels really like a true payoff for this franchise.
Yeah.
You could end this franchise after this one. I don't want them to, but you could end this after this franchise, and it fits.
If Fast 5 was the last film in this franchise, this probably would have been one of the best endings to a franchise of all time.
Yeah.
Like, truly, this would have been one of the best endings because it's that good. Wow. Yeah.
Like we mentioned, insane action sequences that they constantly seem to be topping each other. Like you watch the train sequence, it can't get better than that. And then there's the vault sequence, and everything is getting better.
And there's and not even just action sequences with the cars this time around. We get some the foot chase on the roof.
Yep.
We get really, really great stuff there. We get the fight with Vin Diesel and The Rock, which is a really great action sequence, which is something I don't think we've really seen before, like a straight up
It's been very poor physical fighting action.
Poor physical fighting action. This is the first really choreographed, they're going through walls, they're hitting each other, they're beating the crap out of each other, and you're just like, wow, this is
brutal.
Yeah, it's a brutal fight.
I mean, this movie is really a delight.
Yes.
I could not want anything more out of this movie, except for, I understand obviously the restrictions of the previous film.
Yeah.
Michelle Rodriguez is not here. I would have loved to see her in this film.
Well, she'll be back.
She will be back. We see in The Stinger, she will be back. But I would have liked to see her. At the same time, where do you put her? What do you do with her?
Well, that's the thing. Even when, because again, we've talked about her, a couple times and how much we liked her in the previous movies, and it's interesting that considering this is one of the best Fast movies, she's not in it, and that's kind of upsetting to say. But at the same time, where does she fit? Where does she fit in this movie? But again, I mean, she comes back. We know she comes back, but. I don't necessarily know if this movie would benefit having her in it.
Well, and then you have, Dom does still have the love story, but it's much smaller, it's quicker.
Yeah.
And I like that. They don't drag the movie down. And I'm not saying they did before, but because we mentioned we did like their romance and stuff and their chemistry, but they're not slowing the movie down to shoehorn in this romance. It just kind of happens very quickly, and she just, they don't even show her kind of stepping away from Hobbs. It's just 1 minute she's next to him on the bridge, and the next minute she's at the beach with them.
Yeah.
And I like that, and it's quick, it's painless, and it's nice, and it's believable.
Yeah.
They find a way to do this, kind of a loose love story in a believable manner.
Right.
So I mean, I can't praise this movie enough. I really can't.
I mean, the amount of praise we can heap upon this movie is unbelievable. I want to ask you this, actually, before we move on. Would you recommend watching the 4 previous movies and then watching this one just for the payoff of Fast 5? Or do you really think, just start with this one?
It depends on the commitment of the person. If you're looking, if it's a Friday night and we're hanging out with some people and there's somebody there and they say, "Oh, I never saw Fast 5," we're putting that in right now.
we're watching Fast 5 right now. Strap in.
I'm not going to say to them, "Well, you need to go home and you need to watch 1, 2, 3, and 4."
Right. You're not going to tell somebody get out of here and go watch the
but
first 4.
We're sitting around. Let's watch a movie. This guy says, "Well, I never saw Fast 5." Let's put it in. Let's pop some popcorn. But if there's somebody out there, or there's a group that's saying, or an individual or a group, and they're saying, "Man, I really want to watch these movies." Do you think I should just jump in, or do you think I should start from the beginning? I would say, if you really want to enjoy these movies on a higher level, check these out.
If you want to experience, because I will say for me, the payoff of this movie after watching the previous 4, this was a better reward than I was expecting. Yeah. And I will say, if you are looking for that commitment of, I really want the payoff, watch the previous 4 and then get to this one, because the reward is wonderful.
We talked about like some of the parts of the other movies do drag.
Yes.
Right? But it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
If you can get through the, and again, these aren't, we're not saying that we've talked about, the previous 4 movies aren't unwatchable by any means.
No.
I really recommend, if you want to get the full experience, I think if you really want the full Fast 5 experience, watch the previous 4. Because it's...
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, basically is if you're looking for just something to watch and kind of, I don't want to use the word dumb action movie, but, just a exciting action movie.
Fun.
That fun action movie that you don't have to think about, right?
Yeah.
Jump into it, but if you really want the payoffs, if you want to understand truly, without having to stop and think about it or, to have these moments really mean something to you, check out the first 4 because it's still fun. But it's fun, and like I mentioned, there is a layer of emotion here. But I think that that's more for the people who have been on this journey so far.
Right. I think it's more just how interested in these characters are you as well. I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, because they're not like, oh, I don't know who is this guy and why is he here. You're like, that's Roman and that's Tej and that's Han.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And even something like when we watched Fast 5. Leo and Santos went right over my head because I didn't know who they were, and they are such a small part of the movie. Of the crew, they have the least to do, right? And they kind of have the least characters.
Yeah.
But because, we watched Los Bandoleros, we watched Fast and Furious, and now we watched Fast 5, and we have this backstory, and we have this knowledge of who they are.
Yeah.
They come in, and they're stealing the show.
They're stealing it. So, yeah, I just want to throw that question out because I was curious.
It's a great question.
For me, I'm like, I think I personally would recommend, again, if you're just looking for a fun action movie to watch, pop in Fast 5. Just do it. But if you're interested in character development and you really want a good payoff, watch the previous 4. That's what I'll recommend.
I gave this 4.5 stars.
I also gave this 4.5 stars because it's that good.
I'm going to keep it at 4.5 stars for now, but by the time this is over, this may be bumping up to 5.
A 5-star movie. I know. I really was thinking about it. I said, I finished this movie and I went, is this 5 stars for me? Because the pure enjoyment I get out of it is easily 5 stars.
Yeah.
I've really been convincing myself more and more that this is one of the... Ryan, this is all I'm going to say. This might be one of the most important action movies of all time. And I've been convincing myself of that this might be one of the most important action movies ever made. And I'm I think it's a 5-star.
I'm going to sit on it before I move it to 5. Sure. Are you officially giving it 5?
I'm going to wait till the end.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to wait till we're done.
I think I might.
Because like I mentioned, I've seen 6, I've seen 7, but I want to know, if this movie worked so well for me because I've seen the other movies, how well those other movies are going to work.
Yeah.
6 and especially 7, because 7 has the built-in extra emotional level to it for the real-world connection.
So maybe I'll sit on it for a little while. Yeah. Maybe I'll watch the other movies first, and I'll see how this one sits with me. But, I've been going back and forth on that.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the uniqueness, okay?
Sure.
What stands out to you for this movie?
The action sequences are upped. The dialogue is upped. The character development is upped. The emotional aspects of the movie are upped. There is so much wonderful things here. I really also found, the uniqueness of just, the action sequences alone. The practical effects... It does this movie wonders. It absolutely does this movie wonders. I mean, the amount of times that I was watching this movie and the practical effect action sequences happening, I was sitting at home and I would stand up and go, yeah! I'm like, this is so much fun. I'm just I was pacing back and forth in my living room, just this is so fun. I'm I'm really enjoying this. I have so much energy watching this that I need to walk it off. I need to just pace and watch because I'm taken with these practical effects. So I think that really, really stands out a lot, just the uniqueness of these action sequences. And again, the dialogue is really unique in that it's the best dialogue we've had in a Fast movie yet. So for me, that's kind of the big, unique standouts. Yep. But what about yourself? What do you got?
It's definitely the action. I mean, it's the best action sequences we've seen so far, like you said. And it's kind of the brutality of the movie too. I did watch the extended cut, like I mentioned. The extended cut.
Okay, let's just hang on a second.
The extended cut is 73 seconds longer than the theatrical cut.
That just drives me crazy. When you were I'm watching the extended cut, the movie. I just want to be clear about this because I want people to know, the movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes long.
I watched it cut 2 hours and 11 minutes.
2 hours and 11 minutes. that's a scam.
It's
if you ask me.
because it's one scene, it's one deleted scene added into the movie.
Sure.
But it is also, and I do believe this, Justin Lin included more violent action sequences.
Sure.
So when they're getting shot, there's blood splattering, and it's a
Right.
little bit more brutal. Everything's a little bit more brutal.
Sure.
So I think that really helps stand out too. And again, when I listened to this with commentary, he really brought up that, the rating system kind of made him, you're not really allowed to have that much blood in a PG-13
Right.
movie, and you have to make some sacrifices. So it is kind of bloodless. They're kind of getting shot and going down.
Right.
But like here, it is. When they get shot, you feel it.
Right.
And
Okay.
it looks it. So I would recommend it for that alone.
Sure.
I mean, it's on the DVD. It just comes with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
if it's there, watch it.
If
you
it's
know
there,
what I mean?
watch it. Why not?
It
Yeah.
doesn't take. I mean, because it's one scene and because it's 73 seconds, it doesn't take away from the theatrical.
You're
because
right, you're right.
Sometimes they add too much, and sometimes it doesn't flow
Right.
very well.
I would rather 73 seconds.
But you're right. It is. If you're looking for a whole bunch of new stuff, it's
Right.
73 seconds.
Yeah.
You watch the scene. I showed you the scene.
Yes.
It's not much.
It's
a
not
scene.
much.
It's a scene of them planning the heist.
Yeah.
It's a fun little scene, but it is the more especially near the end when Reyes' men are taking out Hobbs' team. That's brutal. Blood splouting everywhere.
Right.
It's brutal.
Right,
So
right.
I would say for that. And then also the scene on the train, and they just throw that guy. He hits the bridge.
Woo! Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cool scene.
Yeah,
but
but
it's
he
brutal.
just brutal
Yeah.
smacking.
He hits that bridge.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's poof.
So-
it's great though.
Yeah, it's just that's what I mean. Even without that extended cut, and even without that extra blood, you are seeing the most brutal action sequences.
Right.
They do feel like they're getting hurt.
Right.
Even Dom and Brian feel like they are kind of in the thick of it and kind of going through this craziness and just this brutality towards them and on Hobbs and everybody. The fight scene between Dom and Hobbs is so brutal, but at the same time so fun to watch.
Right.
So yeah, that is what stands out to me. Does this bring anything new? I mean, I think again we mentioned it. The action.
Yeah, the action. I mean, it's the action. I mean, I feel like I've harped on it already, but certainly the action.
And like you said, the use of practical effects.
The use of practical effects.
How
works.
they do that. And then even when they're driving, Brian's driving during the train sequence, they're driving the truck and it smashes into the train. That train almost goes down.
That train almost derails. It's crazy.
So yeah, I mean really, I think
This is the question.
This is the biggest question, the hardest question here.
Yeah.
What is the best scene?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because again, this was there is great scene after great scene after great scene in this movie. And anybody who has watched this will know that and is a lover of this movie will know that. And I really had to mull this one over because I was like, what is the best scene? I get so much enjoyment out of this. Oh man, I think for me, if I have to be completely fair and honest, it's not for me, it's not a dialogue scene. Again, this is another, which I'm finding more and more with Fast is not becoming the case. Because you mentioned the father scene, which again is a really, really great scene.
It's up there for me.
It's up there for me too. That's a really great scene. And even the pregnant scene is really up there for me. Okay, I am going to go with the vault scene. I am going to go with pulling the vault scene. It's so good.
It's wild.
It's wild. The reason it's so important is because it shows just how crazy this franchise can get. It really ups the ante for what this series becomes. This is the scene where we're like, oh, this is just crazy. This is just, we're coming full circle with craziness. We're going to see them doing something that nobody would believe if you saw it, but they're just throwing the vault. They're literally driving and the vault is twisting all over the place. And I'm like, what did the ropes get it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is fantastic. This is so believable and fun. And I really, really like that scene.
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I'm sorry. You're right. It's so unbelievable and so fun. And you're kind of just watching it and you're going, this is a really it kind of becomes one of the most important fast scenes in a way, because it sets the tone for what the action is going to be from here on out.
What have we been saying these last couple of weeks, right? The first one is the most serious.
Yes.
The second one is ridiculous, and the third one has really great action. And we said in the fourth one it went back to being too serious.
Yeah.
It had the action and had the drama,
Yeah.
the seriousness, but it was lacking that ridiculous nature. And this does it. Chris Morgan, Justin Lin, they finally do it.
Yeah.
They finally bring it in, finally blend it together. And on the commentary, and I have the quote later, I'm going to read it. Justin Lin acknowledges that that's what he had to do.
Yeah.
He had to really push for the kind of the ridiculous nature of this. He's not looking for this to be authentic, real-life action sequences.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. And I don't care either. When you go to a movie and you want to watch, sometimes you want to watch a dramatic, real life movie. I want to see something that, a true story or something inspirational. I don't want that with these movies.
Right.
I want to see dumb action movies.
Yes.
But I want to see smart, dumb action movies. I want to see, things mean something. I don't, like we mentioned Michael Bay. I don't want to see an exploding butt. Okay? I want to see, action sequences that have heart.
Yes.
And that have soul.
Yes.
And you get that. And even with that vault scene at the end, you have the Dom lets Brian go.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be a father and
Yeah.
he has to have this life. He makes this sacrifice for of himself.
Yes.
For his sister and his, I guess they're technically not married, but his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Soon
to be.
soon to be, I guess, and to just, he wants them to have a better life. He gives of himself.
Yeah.
He does make that ultimate sacrifice.
Yes.
And really steps up against, Reyes and his men, only for Brian, to
Come back.
come back and embrace him. And it's a sweet moment.
It's a really sweet moment.
It's a sweet moment.
That's what I'm saying. It's the most important scene in the Fast franchise, I think, yet, because it encapsulates all of that. It's the ridiculousness, it's the seriousness, and it's the emotional aspect of it. It really brings all of those things together just in that one scene.
Mixed with an incredible action scene.
Wait, is that your scene too?
It is not.
Okay, I was going to say,
not.
I was like, wow, because I was like, that's really great. I was going to say, that's the first time we've had the same scene.
I've thought about it,
Sure.
and it's, look, I literally wrote down train scene, rooftop scene,
Yes.
vault heist,
Yeah.
reuniting the crew in itself is a scene.
Yeah.
The ending wrap-up scene with the characters
Yes.
and where everybody ends up, that's a great
That's
scene
a great
too.
scene
And,
too.
I want to talk about that more.
How they spent their money.
Yeah, and oh my god, and the father scene. But I think I have to go with. You might have sold me on the vault heist, but I think I have to go with that Dom Hobbs fight. I really
Interesting.
do.
Okay.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's brutal and it stands out the best. And it's just like you mentioned, we have not seen fights like this
Right.
in this franchise. So to get something like this, it's so cool. You believe that these two guys are just pushing them to the limit. And I know, we've talked about off mic in our own personal lives about like, there being egos involved, and I don't want to look weak, but nobody looks weak here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They both look like they're just beating the absolute crap out of each
Yes.
other. And, The Rock does a German suplex. I'm a sucker for that too.
I don't, when I saw the German suplex, I went, oh, I guess they're just, they said, oh, you're a wrestler, right? And then he was like, yeah, and they were just like, German suplex. And he went,
just wait. He does the rock bottom.
he does the rock bottom.
It's coming up.
Oh my God. Oh, I almost wish you didn't tell me that. Oh, that's so great.
It's coming up.
I can't wait.
But yeah,
Does he do the people's elbow?
I don't think so.
Oh, man.
I don't think so.
Justin Lin. Hi, pal. You get the people's elbow in these movies. You are my favorite director.
He's not in the movies anymore. Rock's not even going to be in the movies anymore.
Well, we don't know that. Maybe he'll do like a surprise.
He
cameo.
just shows up, does the people's elbow.
That's all I want. Justin Lin, if you can get him to just do the people's elbow, you'll become my favorite director. And I'm a big Scorsese fan, but I'll tell you right now, you will become my favorite director if you get that in there. Holy cow.
How's he going to bounce off the ropes?
Doesn't need to be ropes. You can bounce off car doors. I don't care how he does it.
That's my pitch for the Dom Hobbs fight.
I think that's I think that's a really, really interesting point.
But you might have. It's a 1 and 2. It's so close.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was watching the Vault Heist, I really loved it, but I didn't like react the way I was kind of hoping I would.
Sure.
Again, probably because I've seen this before.
You've
right?
seen it,
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
You've seen it more than I have.
Yeah.
Like this for me, this is the first. Like I said at the top of the show, this is the first time I've seen this movie in a decade, and I think that's why it worked for me more.
Yeah, but you're right, because it does have that emotion, that has that ridiculousness, and it has everything we've been asking for of this franchise.
It's the culmination of all of it.
So it's a really close 1 and 2. You could close your eyes and pick a scene in this movie, and you could probably make a case for it being the best scene in the movie.
Like, that's what I'm curious. Like, I would love if I would just love to hear other people who watch this and say like, oh, it's I really like actually when they're gathering the team, when they're putting the team together, because you said that was a really close one for me too. Like, I love a good like montage of putting a team together. Like, that's one of my favorite things in movies. Like, I'm a sucker for that. Like, that's why I'm such a big fan of like the Ocean's movies in particular, because it does that. And there's that whole scene with literally George Clooney and Brad Pitt putting the team together, and he's like, oh, here, we need this guy, we need this guy, we need this guy, and it's going to each one. This movie does that, and I'm such a sucker for it. I love it so much. And he's just, we need a chameleon. Here comes Han. We need a tech guy. Here comes Tej. We need a smooth talker, and here comes Roman. It's just, it's like, oh my god.
We need a weapons person. Here comes Giselle.
Yes,
and then we need two of the best drivers of all time. Well, we have those.
We have those. And you're just like, this is fantastic. Like, it's a great scene. But yeah.
No, and even the interactions that the other characters have when they're meeting. Han's meeting Giselle, who's meeting Roman, who's meeting Tej, and it's just so I'm freaking out.
Yeah,
I'm geeking out about this.
Even when they're all coming together, what I love is like because first I think Tej and Roman pull up, and Tej gets out of the car and goes, "It looks like he's like, oh, I guess they're scraping the bottom of the barrel."
And then you get Roman and Tej versus Leo and Santos interacting, and they're just going back and forth.
They're going back and forth. It's so much fun. But yeah, that's a real contender for me as well. So, but like that's what I'm saying though. Like, somebody could watch this movie and literally pull that one out. And honestly, dude, like, I'm saying this, the vault scene, they could sell me on that, and I could go, you're right, that is the best scene. Like, I don't know.
And the music they picked for the ending scene, and it's just, you get this energy, like you're popping in your seat,
energy.
And you get to see, like you mentioned, Han and Giselle, and I'm at the point that I love these Tokyo teases.
Tokyo teases. That's what we're going to call them from now on, because we have one more. We have to call it the Tokyo tease.
I don't care that when he comes back in 9. Obviously, Han has been to Tokyo and he's alive again. I don't care. I still want a Tokyo tease in 9.
Let's get a T-shirt called Tokyo Tease. Can we get that?
I hope that in 9 he just goes, maybe I'll go to Tokyo. Didn't you already do that?
Didn't you already do that? Did you already go there? How did that work out? Yeah, you're right. Maybe I shouldn't go back.
No, but I love the Tokyo teases. I love Roman and Tej, really becoming friends.
Yes.
And those cars really are only 4 cars in the world.
Yes.
And they got somebody who owns those cars to let them use them. And they said the girl that Roman brings in the car, she asked for like a glass of orange juice, and she's sitting in this like $2.4 million car drinking a glass of orange juice.
Jeez.
And everybody's staring at her like...
Oh my God. That's so funny.
And that's great. And like you mentioned, the scene with... Again, you get a little bit of heart. You mentioned the scene with Vince's wife and his son, and that's such a sweet little moment.
Yeah, it's a really sweet scene.
It is. It is a very sweet little moment. But yeah, just a wrap up of everybody, and to see Paul Walker and Jordana Brewster, Brian and Mia together, pregnant, going to have this family, get to have this life now.
Yeah.
It's really sweet.
Yeah.
And again, you get this music pumping, your body's going.
Going.
It's great.
Yeah.
And just like how they and Leo and Santos in the casino arguing.
I love that scene. I also want to point that out. That's such a good moment. Like, they literally just go to a casino and
somebody's losing $10 million.
Somebody's losing $10 million, and they're like walking to the roulette wheel. But I like how one of them, he looks. I don't remember which one says it, but he looks at him and he goes. I don't want to be negative. He's like, but should you really bet $10 million? Like, are you sure you want to do this? And he's like, I told you, if I ever have this money, I'm doing this. And then you don't even see the outcome of that though.
Well,
like, they throw it in there, they roll the ball, and you do not see the outcome.
I think it's teased that it lands on green.
Yeah, I think
which means nobody wins.
Which means nobody wins. Yeah, which means nobody wins. He's like, but even as they're going, he's like, this casino. He's like, casinos are made to take money from people like you and me. Are you sure you want to do this? And he's like, yeah, I'm doing this.
It's just classic bickering between the two of them.
Classic bickering. It's really good.
Yeah, it's such a cool ending. And I think a lot of them, kind of start to end like that, or that was kind of the plan to end like that. Obviously, 7 has to have a different ending.
It goes a different way, obviously,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just, again, this is something that this is going to be a longer episode, because this movie you can just gush and gush and gush. We can
gush and gush about. I think we're going to hit 2 hours here, and I'm okay with it.
We are almost there. So
that's fantastic.
But let's talk connectivity. How does this fit in with the franchise?
It fits in with the franchise because it brings everybody together. Yep. This is how it fits. Like, literally, this is the connective movie.
Yep.
This is the movie that connects all the previous movies. This is the one that does that. The casts are back. The casts are merged. The writing takes another level. I mean, this literally is the connective tissue for all of these movies.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know how you can say anything more than that.
And not just story-wise or character-wise, but it is connecting because it connects that drama, ridiculous nature, and the action.
Yep.
It connects all that together, and it really brings that out in this series, and it kind of sets it on a new course.
Absolutely.
The first 4 are kind of here, and this is going off in a new direction.
Yep. Just takes that left turn and goes somewhere else.
And this is where the Universal Studios, and I guess Justin Lin himself, kind of like, we're not making car movies anymore. We're making like heist films.
Yes.
That feature, cars, but in vehicles and stuff, trains and trucks and, things like that.
Right.
But, it definitely is a new direction for the franchise, but it does it in such a great creative way to honor that franchise as a whole.
Yes.
So, is this a worthy continuation of the franchise?
No, I'm just kidding. Of course it is. Of course it is. We've done nothing but gush about this movie. It's obviously a complete worthy continuation.
Not only is it worthy, it is the best.
It is the best so far, yes.
Before we get into the future of this franchise, let's talk a little bit about casting and some fun facts.
Sure.
We have a new character in Hobbs, so we do have some possible casting choices for Hobbs.
I'm really curious about what this is.
According to Vin Diesel, they did write the role of Hobbs for another actor.
Sure.
And then he saw a suggestion on his Facebook page. Somebody suggested that for Vin Diesel and The Rock to work together, so then they reworked, Vin Diesel and Justin Lin reworked this character for The Rock. But this was written for somebody else originally. It's weird to think that this was written for anybody else. But it's a different take on this, but this person I can see fitting in this as well, because it is kind of this hard character, kind of leading the charge. And that's Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah, that works. That really works. And that's a different vibe, too, because obviously he's much older.
Yeah.
And, the scene that you pointed out is one of your best scenes, the fight scene, that would not have existed with Tommy Lee Jones in the role. That guy's a grouch.
Yeah.
He's a real... that guy's Oscar the Grouch.
I mean, like I said, they wrote it for him, so I'm guessing he was on board. I mean, I don't know, but...
Sometimes, though, that's not the case. Sometimes they write those things with somebody in mind, with the hopes that they'll say yes. Mm-hmm. And you never know, Yeah.
They did have another person. They were also apparently considered for the role of Hobbs, outside of Tommy Lee Jones. This kind of branches the gap between Tommy Lee Jones and The Rock, because I feel like it kind of goes into between the two of them. And it's Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin's also a really good choice. Wow, those are... I'm actually really surprised. Those are 2 really solid choices. Yeah. Also, 2 actors who were in No Country for Old Men.
Hey, maybe they were a big fan.
Maybe they're just a big fan of No Country for Old Men, and they went, I want both of them.
I think you get Josh Brolin, you get a little bit more of you can have a little bit more of the physical role of Hobbs.
I think if it was Josh Brolin, we would have gotten the fight.
Yeah.
For sure. Obviously, Tommy Lee Jones, no, he's old, he can't do that. But if it's Josh Brolin, yeah, you would have gotten that fight. And Josh Brolin's a guy who, he'll get ripped for a role if he has to. So he could have, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just interesting choices. I'm obviously glad that The Rock took it.
No, I was going to say, it's just also really interesting that, Vin, it's from a fan, and Vin Diesel kind of said, yeah, let's get The Rock in this.
Yeah.
And to see where that relationship goes. That's what's really fascinating to me. I didn't know Vin Diesel was kind of, integral in him getting that role.
That's what I'm seeing on the internet, but apparently that's what Vin Diesel said. I know Vin Diesel we talked about a couple weeks ago about his comments about The Rock,
right,
and about him, trying to get a better performance out of The Rock,
right.
I don't know how you get a better performance than this, but
how do you push him, right?
But it is what it is. But yeah, apparently, this was a fan suggestion. It wasn't necessarily for the Fast and Furious movies. It was just for them to do something together.
Right.
We do see, this is going off a little bit, but we do see sometimes, if you push hard enough, these kind of like buddy movies or like these pairings will happen.
Right.
People have been pushing for Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa to do something together, to do a buddy action movie together, and recently they've just announced that is happening.
Yeah.
Well, they're both in that C, right? C, the Apple TV show.
They're in C together, and they're going to be in.
They're going to do something. It's like an unnamed. They're just working on an action movie together.
Right. And they were on C together, but there was something else they did together too. I don't remember what it was, and it must be Dune, isn't it?
They're both in Dune, right?
Is Momoa in Dune?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, they just really liked working together, and they said, "Let's do a movie." Yeah, you're absolutely right, though. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, it's interesting to see kind of how that came to be. Not necessarily casting news, but it does fit. Michelle Rodriguez revealed that she didn't know about her photo appearing during the post-credits scene of this movie. And she was actually in the theater watching the film, and she discovered it when she just showed up in the file, and she's like, I guess I'm alive now.
Yeah, I guess I'm back.
Nobody had contacted her about returning for the 6th movie until after the release of this film.
That's really interesting.
So they're lucky she didn't say no.
Yeah, they're really lucky that she wasn't like, no, I'm on to different things now. But that's really cool that she kind of rolled with it and went, yeah, okay, I guess I'm alive now. That's very funny that no one contacted her, though.
And then just some other fun facts. We'll run through them pretty quickly. The fight between Vin Diesel and The Rock took over a week to shoot. We talked about this off mic.
Yeah.
From what I understand, or Justin Lin mentioned in the commentary, that it was because he really wanted to choreograph it and make sure that every little scene, and you're going to go through the glass here, and you're going to go through the wall here,
right.
and and that it's perfect. But also, we've also mentioned that there have been rumored reports of like Vin Diesel kind of making, whether it's for this movie or later on, and I know Jason Statham is included in these as well, when he enters the franchise,
when he joins in 7,
that there is kind of like a point system. Each physical interaction, a punch equals so many points, a kick equals so many points, a headbutt is so many points.
Right.
That whatever damage is done in the fight, they need to equal up as close as possible to each other, so that nobody looks quote unquote weak.
Yeah, quote unquote.
Which blows my mind, because I'm not going to think that The Rock is a wimp because he lost a fight to Vin Diesel in Fast 5.
Yeah, in a movie.
Yeah.
In a literal movie where, there kind of needs to be a winner.
Yeah.
And, they're just like, oh, we can't look weak. And it's just like, well, what are you talking about? It's a movie.
I think, part of it is that The Rock, from what I understand, has a publicist that, the goal is to always, the goal for any publicist is to make your actor look the best they can.
But also The Rock,
he seems like out of the 3 of them, like he's the one that's least involved in this.
Probably, you're right.
And I feel like maybe he's kind of pushed to act this way because of the reaction of Vin Diesel. And I kind of, look, we don't know any of these people. All we hear is rumors and stuff.
We weren't on that side.
But I kind of get the vibe that Vin Diesel, he's very kind of full of himself too. He seems like a very nice man,
right.
But he kind of seems like he's full of himself. Justin Lin mentioned that apparently Diesel was a little concerned about the Han-Giselle relationship, because he was like, well, wasn't she just after me in the last movie? Are people going to buy that she wants Han now instead of me?
Oh, boy.
And it's like,
oh boy,
okay, like, calm down, like
calm down. You're not just calm down, Playboy. You're not like right.
So I mean that again, this is something that we really see.
I think this is. It's interesting that you're saying this, because I almost get the vibe that he's kind of like, you're right. Let's just say Vin Diesel is probably full of himself. He probably is full of himself, and I think maybe he views Dom as this character of like, he's like Dom is completely irresistible to all women, and that's why he can't possibly fathom that. Why would she want Han? And it's like, you and I both very well know, because Han's cool. Like, Han is cool.
Yeah.
Like, I've said it. Like, if look, Han walks in this room right now. Han walks in this room right now and goes, "You want to get out of here?" I'm getting out of here. I'm
no more podcasts.
No more podcasts. I'm cozied up next to him. I'm there, man. headlights going.
I mean, I understand because they don't look like they don't. Not only do they not look this like similar, but they're completely different, like body types and types of men.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that she still couldn't be attracted to him.
Right.
And the Giselle Dom teased relationship in the fourth one, we really didn't talk about it because there really is not much there.
The chemistry isn't there.
It was really kind of awkward and
Yes.
and really kind of cringy to watch.
Yeah. The chemistry between Han and Giselle, though,
because
works.
you really believe why both of them would be attracted to each other,
right,
and want to be with each other.
Yes.
And it's just a cool little fun, aspect of their relationship and or aspects of their characters. And it is what it is. I mean, if Vin Diesel was really bothered by it, it's fine. I don't know. That's just something that he mentioned. I noted. I was like,
right.
But he almost kind of seems like there's a line in The Simpsons where Homer gets the role as Poochie, and one of the things he tries to implement to the character is that when Poochie isn't on screen, all the characters should be asking, "Where's Poochie?" And it feels like that's Vin Diesel with Dom. Like when Dom's not in the scene, everybody should be wondering, "Where's Dom?
Where's Dom at? Family." Yeah, okay.
It is what it is. Again, we'll talk on the Vin Diesel Rock confrontation and conflict, more in 8.
Yeah, there's not a lot here, but
it is interesting that it does seem to begin even here.
Yeah.
So, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just they really wanted to choreograph it, and they were just too intense guys.
Right. We might be reading into it a little too much. Right.
Tyrese was filming this movie at the same time as Transformers: Dark Side of the Moon.
Wow.
So he's actually going back and forth between two sets.
Two big franchises.
Yeah. It's a good commitment on him.
Yeah.
And I don't think his career really went in the direction that he was kind of hoping. I mean, he still has this series, so at least he's still, getting paid and he's still active.
Right.
But like, I just saw him in the Christmas Chronicles 2 last year as like the new stepdad who really doesn't have much to do, and it's kind of like, I poor think, Tyrese.
Yeah, it's a little. I know he's had a lot of. I'm not going to speak on it, but I know he's had some personal issues outside of all of this. But like it's upsetting because you do want to see him in more things, especially since this movie and the Fast franchise. He is really, really entertaining in these movies, and Transformers is one thing, but I would really like to see him in more. I know there was for him there was a push for a while that he wanted to be the next Green Lantern. Yeah. He wanted to be the Jon Stewart version.
Yeah,
and I thought that would have been great. I really do. I think he would have been pretty good.
I think he'd be good in a ensemble movie. I don't know if he is. I don't know if I can lead. Yeah, I don't know if I could watch him as a leading man.
Right.
But if you get I know they've been talking about a Green Lantern Corps movie, and if you do that, then I could see it.
Oh, I'm in. Yeah. If look, if they do the I know they're doing that HBO Max show for Green Lantern. If they're already bringing in a bunch of lanterns. If he's cast as Jon Stewart in that show, I'm in totally because there's so many Green Lanterns at play that I'm like, yeah, cool, great.
A bottle of Conjure cognac can be seen in the film. Conjure is co-owned by Ludacris. So I think it's in the finale with him and
I like it.
Han's full name can be seen as Han Solo, Seoul, an obvious reference to Star Wars and most likely an alias of Han.
Yeah, most likely.
Because we know him as Han Lu.
We know him as Han Lu. There's no way he's Han Solo.
It's a cool little Easter egg. Justin Lin has apparently been quoted as crediting the Golden Girls as inspiration for this film. Because when he was a kid, he mentioned that he loved Golden Girls. Every Saturday night, he would watch the Golden Girls, as well as the other shows that were on at the same time, Empty Nest and Nurses.
Wow.
And they had the thing one Saturday night, where it's called Hurricane Saturday.
Yeah.
And each episode of that show had a hurricane in it. The same hurricane was going through, so they were in a universe.
Cool.
So it was like his first kind of connection to an extended universe. Like, hey, this show is this show is this show. Kind of like Urkel showing up on Full House, and, things like that.
Those little Easter eggs. Right.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And he said, that was an inspiration for this because he wanted to bring back all these characters. They show that they really do exist in the same universe because even though they are the same series of movies, 2 and 3 are almost so separate from 1, 4, and 5.
Right.
And I know, Brian mentions, Roman helped me in that thing in Miami. it's a way to just kind of connect it. They feel so separate that it is hard to believe, when you're in the fourth one that, we were just in Tokyo watching these people drift and stuff.
Right.
So
it is fat. That's really fat. Who hasn't found some inspiration from Golden Girls though? Like, let's be honest here. Who has not just watched that show and go, oh, Betty White, she just moves me.
Thank you for being a friend.
Hey, thank you for being a friend.
And just in some interesting notes in the commentary, Justin Lin said he thought he was done after the fourth movie. Said that while doing press in other countries, especially like Europe, and seeing like fans' reactions and interacting with people and talking about their passion for this franchise, he decided to continue on and do 5, and then obviously eventually 6 as well.
Wow, that's really cool. And just recently 9.
Yeah, but it's interesting for him that, well, I guess that kind of is basis for him coming back for 9 because, here he is. He did 3 and 4, thinking he's going to kind of step back.
Right.
And he's like, you know what? No, these people love it. They want to see me continue working on it, so why not?
That's really cool to listen to the fans like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this franchise really kind of feels like it is very fan driven and stuff. So it's just interesting to me.
You know what it feels like, really, Ryan? Family.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's cliche to say, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
He said, the fan reactions made him excited to make another one. Justin Lin also said he loved sequels. Quote, you make a sequel because the audience wants to continue the journey. Lin said he also had heated conversations with Matt Schultz about the character of Vince. Not exactly sure why. But, I guess he said, some actors kind of get this idea of what their character should be and where they should be.
Right.
And they kind of had these heated arguments or conversations, he said. But he also said that he loved that intensity of Matt Schultz.
Right.
And he loved Matt Schultz as a person, and he loved those conversations.
That's really great.
So even if they got a little heated, I guess he just liked... Justin Lin just seems like a chill dude.
Yeah.
So...
He seems really relaxed. So I'm wondering... And with Vince's role in this, again, we kind of talked about it's a small role, so I'm wondering if, maybe Matt Schultz was like, look, I'm only in this for so long, I just want to make the most of it, type of...
I think he had an idea where his character went from the first one, know, and
he had an idea, and maybe that was like, well, we're not agreeing, and, you have to meet in the middle. That's the creative process.
Absolutely. They bought their own train for the train heist.
Imagine having that money. That's where the budget went. We're asking that we're sitting here going, oh, where's all the budget? The budget went towards a train. They bought a train.
Well, because obviously you can't destroy a train.
Right. Yes.
That's really being used.
Yeah.
And he said he got a lot of memos from the studio about the cost of the train sequence, and that they wanted him to kind of lower the budget. Can we cut certain things? Do we have to do this? And he's like,
do we have to destroy a train?
He's like, no, we have. Can you make it? Can you do CGI? Can you do this? This has to be done practically.
Yeah.
He really seems like he fought against Universal to kind of, we need
Make
to
it
do
practical.
this. Yeah, practical and just kind of, we need these big sequences.
Yeah.
Here's a quote that kind of referenced this earlier from Justin Lin I thought was really interesting because it kind of goes to everything we've been saying. And he says, try to do everything practically, but at the same time, push it and embrace the ridiculousness of it.
Yes.
So, he really is kind of...
He's passionate about it.
Yeah, and he wants... he believes in that ridiculousness of it. He talked about, these are ridiculous movies. What we're doing is not realistic. Realistic is kind of boring.
Yeah.
When they go off the cliff, and Dom and Brian are going off the cliff, in this impossible... They would die. Obviously, they would die. Obviously.
Yeah.
And he's like, we tried to... he talked about that, and that was a little bit difficult to do it practically, because how do you get those people to jump off like that? They would die. How do you do it? So, he found ways, he said, he thought about doing it, like lowering it, but, the height that somebody would survive it really wasn't interesting, he said.
Right.
So that, it wasn't that high. It didn't look that great.
Right.
So he wanted to do something bigger, and they just found a way to, I don't know if it was CGI, or he didn't really go into how they did it, but, they found a way to kind of pull off that stunt.
Nice. That's really cool.
So, Lin praised the female characters a lot during the commentary, especially Jordana Brewster. He also gave very high praise to Ludacris as an actor and said he was a constant professional, and he really was excited to see where he went with his acting career, and said he just was really great and everything he needed, he kind of just did. It was just funny because he doesn't, he talks about The Rock like that a little bit, but he really praised Ludacris more than anybody.
Look, man, never underestimate the power of Luda.
He also credits his time directing on the show Community for helping him be comfortable filming this ensemble cast. It's funny, I bring this up because I just finished watching Community.
Yes.
And I did, when I watched those episodes, I mentioned, hey, Justin Lin did do a couple of these episodes.
Right.
And he did 3, I think, but the big one he did is probably the very first paintball episode.
Oh, cool.
Which is an action-based ensemble. You have the 6 main characters.
Right.
And then every other little, they have so many people in that school, in that cast, in that ensemble cast, and how they utilized it, how he pulls off that action. And he mentioned, that really helped him become comfortable with this, and that really was a great experience for him moving on to this.
Nice.
And
really
it's just
cool.
It's just funny to hear him mention the Russo brothers in 2011 before they went on to be these mega-star directors.
Mega-star directors directing the biggest Marvel movies of all time.
I got a phone call from my friends, the Russo brothers, and they wanted me to direct their show Community that they do. And I'm like, not the Avengers movies.
Yeah, not the Avengers movies, yeah.
So there's just a couple of little facts from the commentary that I thought were interesting. So we can go talk about the future of this franchise. Should there have been a sequel to this film?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's kind of a yes and no question, because we kind of talked about how 5 could really be the perfect ending to this franchise. If they chose to stop at 5, it would have been a perfect ending to a franchise, especially after kind of 4 whatever movies, and then kind of ending with 5, it would have been perfect. So no, but when 5 ends, you want more. You're craving more. So in a way, it's a yes question, because it's like, yeah, I do want more because I enjoyed this so much. I want another one.
I think, if for whatever reason Universal was out of their mind and they said, no more, we're done. It's a fitting end, but at the same time, you have the Hobbs tease. You want that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You want to see, them interact again. You want to see, is he going to catch him down? I literally wrote as my answer, I want 5 more of these.
I want 5 more. Please, give me all of them.
What would you want to see, in the future?
More action sequences like this one. These are the action sequences that, obviously, as we know, are going to define it. But I want more of that. I want more of the action. I want more great dialogue. I want more interesting characters added, which, again, we're going to get to. We're going to get more interesting characters. I know the next movie, obviously the post-credits scene, we're introduced to Jason Statham. And I believe 6, we are introduced to Mr. Nobody. Is that correct?
7
is Mr. Nobody. Interesting. I thought that was 6.
Nope.
Okay, cool. Well, anyway, we're going to get more interesting characters eventually, but I want more of that. I think that's really what I want to see.
Yeah, basically I agree with you. I want more of this crew. I want more Hobbs.
Yes.
If I had to kind of do like my fantasy picture, we always kind of do, you mentioned before, after the first one, you want to see like a Paul Walker or a Brian chasing Dom, cat and mouse, like Catch Me If You Can type of movie.
Yeah.
And I could see that with Hobbs and this crew.
Yes.
And honestly, you could honestly do like the Hobbs spin-off, where like Hobbs is the main character.
Yes.
And Diesel is kind of the supporting character. Mm-hmm. And, or Dom is. And, he's not that he would ever do that.
I was going to say, in another world, maybe.
But, you could do like this. Or don't have Dom in it and have him tracking down the other members of the crew. Have him going after a Ludacris and a Roman and and a Giselle and a Han, and then you have to have Dom and Brian step back up again and take down Hobbs.
Incredible. That's a really good idea.
Not that I'm really happy with where they went. Not that I'm not happy with where they went. You know what I mean? But it's just an interesting little twist.
Right.
And then. And an interesting question. What franchise star would you add to this franchise?
Jason Statham or Kurt Russell is who I really want to see. I don't know if they join, but I really want to see them.
Yeah.
No, I really... It's so funny because like even after this ends, it's like we got The Rock, and it feels like that's the franchise star they needed. Yeah. That's kind of the thing they needed to push it. So it's like, I don't really necessarily know if I want to see anybody else in the next one, because they just added this great star. Should they now shove in another star right after they got The Rock? It's like, I think they're fine. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say I think they're fine for at least 6, because you get The Rock in the first one and you like him so much, you want to see more of him, and that's kind of enough energy to carry over into 6.
I agree with you 100%. I did make a pitch for somebody.
Oh, okay, go for it.
This is kind of pushing the term of franchise star. He has done sequels. But
Okay.
he's never been in anything really that would fit in as like a third in the series.
Sure.
Maybe one. Like, we're probably never going to really mention him unless more sequels get made. Probably never going to really mention him on this show.
Okay.
Except for maybe one. But I'm going to pitch you my pitch first, and then I'm going to tell you who the actor is.
Okay.
And we've had a series of kind of drug dealers, right?
Okay.
2, 4, and 5.
Yes.
And it doesn't make any sense to connect them. I'm going to connect them.
Okay.
I'm going to say that there is an ultimate drug lord kingpin, the highest of high drug lord kingpins, who has his hand in all of these guys. In, was it Carter Verone, I think, from the second one?
Yes.
In Braga, and now in Reyes. Okay, and he is overseeing all three of them. Ultimate control of just intercontinental, control of this drug distribution. Okay,
Sure.
And he's a loose cannon, and he wants revenge on this crew for taking down now all three of his main distributors.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And he's just takes them out. He's very aggressive and he's trigger happy. I'm going to pitch Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Okay, that's really yes. Get Nicolas Cage in a Fast movie immediately. Make this happen. Yes. All I have to say is yes. I mean, off mic we talk about this as well. We watch other movies, and I have kind of been on this thing where I'm trying to like fit in a Nick Cage movie a week because I just find him so fascinating. There's so many different facets to his personality and his acting, or what he calls, and this is, quote, he calls it this, mega acting. That's what he calls it. That is a quote. And he kind of is, in a way, like, with National Treasure, that almost was a franchise.
There is rumors that they are working on currently a third one.
Look, if they do that, that'd be great, because that's really awesome. And I mean, even Ghost Rider almost was a franchise.
The only one that he is in that we'll probably talk about is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. When you think about Nicolas Cage, it's like he's kind of always been on the cusp of franchise, but just never really got there. But in a Fast movie, oh my God, could you imagine him just calling Vin Diesel, "Where are my guys? Where are my guys?"
Absolutely. I mean,
is this Dom Toretto?
He's just somebody, like, I was looking and I was like, we use the term franchise star or franchise actor, and we are trying to stick to that, but at the same time, you could very easily swap it out for like who's kind of a blockbuster actor or just a Hollywood, celebrity, or is a movie star, And, he's definitely a movie star. He's done huge blockbuster tentpoles, or like supposed to be blockbuster tentpoles, like National Treasure, Ghost Rider, like you mentioned. He's done little movies like Willy's Wonderland.
He's currently in a movie called Pig that's very small.
Apparently a beautiful performance.
Really good.
Talking about Academy Award deserving, maybe.
Yeah.
He did small, wild movies like Mandy, which I haven't seen, but I heard is insane.
Right.
And I just think he brings this insane energy, and he would be wild to see in this cast.
He would be so crazy, because he would just be, he would be that guy that's like, he'd go the extra mile too. That's the other thing. Like, he would probably do some crazy physical thing where he goes the extra mile. He would be really intense. He would be approaching them all. He wouldn't be afraid of Dom. He'd like get in his face and be like, "Dom, where's my guys? Where are my guys, Dom?"
Yeah, because he could he can do the wild, over the top nature, but he could also do like the calm, cool, and collected, just a really intimidating, just laid back, but something like he's going to explode, and then you have those scenes.
Yes.
He'd be great.
I know. We say he's not a franchise star, but later on off mic, I'm going to pitch you on the Nicolas Cage verse, and we're going to do all Nicolas Cage movies, because they're all connected. And I guarantee if you talk to him, he would say, "All my movies are connected."
What is this, adaptation?
Yeah, adaptation is somehow connected to Face Off.
I would love to see him in one of these movies. But no, you're right. If we're talking realistically, don't add anybody. Then they're building up. Obviously, like you mentioned, they do build up Statham. He kind of comes in, but he doesn't come in unannounced. There's reasons.
A cameo. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's he has this
motivation.
6 is all about the motivation for his characters. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's my pitch. We can now, we can start wrapping this up. Let's talk about ranking. Again, I think this is easy. Let's start at the bottom.
Okay.
So we have 5 movies now. 5. Too Fast, Too Furious.
That's the bottom.
Yep.
Yep.
4.
What do we have it for? Is it
Tokyo Drift, I
Tokyo
believe.
Drift. It's Tokyo Drift.
3.
We have Fast and Furious 4.
Yep. 2.
The Fast and the Furious.
And then a 1.
Fast 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Easily. It's so easy.
Great. It's fantastic.
And then before we close, I mean, we are now at the halfway point of this franchise.
Oh, man. Can you believe that, actually? I want to touch on that quick. Can you believe we're at, like, the halfway point of this?
I have really, I have not watched anything else in my personal life the last 2 weeks because I'm just focused on the Fast and Furious movies. Yeah. I'm becoming, like, hooked. Yeah. Like, I'm right now itching to watch 6.
Yeah, I'm really excited for 6.
Like, I'm like, let's turn this off and go watch 6.
Yeah, I'm really, really pumped for 6. I think it's going to end up being really good, too. But I'm excited for 6, yeah.
So, I'm loving them. Mm-hmm. It seems like you're really loving them, too.
Yes.
So, especially now that, like I said, we went through the kind of difficult part, and now we're really,
We're going into the crazy stuff now. We're going into the 6, the 7, the 8, Hobbs and Shaw, and then 9.
And obviously, like I said, we're building up to 9.
Yes.
And I cannot wait for that.
I'm really excited for 9. It's going to be something. But, so we have Fast and Furious 6 next week. We're here at the halfway point. It's very exciting.
Yeah. All right, well, that'll bring us to a close. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We've officially launched. Our first 4 episodes were recorded before we had actually launched anything. Mm-hmm. You will, by the time you hear them, obviously they will be out there in the public. But this is the first time we're recording after we've officially launched anything. We are available on Spotify, Anchor, hopefully other locations very soon. We're working on Apple Podcasts and a couple other places.
Yes.
We do have a Twitter, as always, at FranchiseMePod. We also have Gmail, franchisemepod@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram, same thing, at franchisemepod on Instagram. Thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you to anybody who may have discovered us, and thank you for giving us a chance. We hope you stick around. Big ups to Tony as always. Please feel free to send us your opinions on the Fast films so far and give us your rankings as well. Thank you again, and join us next week for the next installment of the series, Fast and Furious 6.
We'll see you guys soon, and give us a follow.
And remember, family.